from the sprint this afternoon, the Scalacci Stakes, and we can tell you at the moment the money is all for Lee Freedman's Miss Andretti. She is a favourite at $1.70 she's paying at the moment. They're still a little way away.
That is number 4, Let Go Tomo, the WA, backed on track to beat Miss Andretti, $15 into $13 Vianetto, so holding up pretty well on the tote. Miss Andretti $1.90, Nadim's Glow $7, tempts me.
From W bounced fairly well with on the outside Miss Andretti. Proprietor began fast and just off those now. Let Go Tomo, Vianetto and Marwin Gold getting back. Through on the fence goes Poet's Voice to head off Proprietor and Tasbury Jack. Further back than Green Birdie inside Nadim's Glow. Miss Andretti up running 6th. A length further very deep. 2 lengths Green Birdie inside Nadim's Glow. Outside those Miss Andretti. 3 lengths off the lead, getting into a good spot now, and 3 lengths to Let Go Tomo, Vianetto and Marwin Gold. Homeward bound Poet's Voice from Proprietor. Green Birdie trying to get off the fence. Further out Tasbury Jack. Miss Andretti coming down the outside. She's joining them now. Green Birdie gets a run. Miss Andretti goes up on the outside. Hits the front now with 150 to go. She kicks in and away she goes. Miss Andretti sprints away from Green Birdie. Then further back Nadim's Glow. But Miss Andretti too good. 3/4 Green Birdie. Third home in the race is Nadim's Glow. A blanket of them for 4th. Out wide Let Go Tomo, Tasbury Jack, Poet's Voice and Proprietor. Then Vianetto. And near the tail is Marwin Gold.
Yeah, winning horse is Miss Andretti, owned by Sean Buckley and Sean. She's the best race mare at that distance in Australia, and I guess she's probably challenging now for the Rappers being the best sprinter here at the moment too. You know, with Takeover Target off the seat.
Chance to prove that, and she has to run there.
Oh, I think so. Yeah, there's the option of the Way for Age race on the final lap. But look, as I say always, if the handicap is reasonable with her, she'll run on the Salinger, and she's clearly
Her full brother, Charlie Bow, won in Perth yesterday, so the Miss Andretti story and family getting a touch stronger by Iteram. $1.95 for Lee Freedman. Green Birdie was good, Nadim's Glow was good. Good performance, back from 1,400 metres to the 1,000 metres, Steve. She is the best sprinter racing in this country at the moment, because our best sprinter is en route to Hong Kong.
Is she better than Fast and Famous? I guess we'll find out. She is.
She is.
At the moment, yep.
We're going to find out in the Group 1 Salinger at Flemington, which, of course, interestingly is a handicap, so that's going to tell us more.
Any discretion involved in picking the field there? No, it's just a handicap, isn't it?
It's just a handicap. Look, she's fantastic. She is a brilliant, brilliant mare. You see her there coming to the outside in the white sleeves. Damien Oliver aboard. A great record for Lee Freedman. She should be unbeaten. She's unbeaten at Way for Age. Look at that turn of foot, that explosion at the end of a fairly genuinely run 1,000-metre race, and the 3-year-olds toughing it out pretty well. Nadim's Glow didn't have a lot of luck.
Was she? No doubt the form horse won the race, was forced to cover a little bit of ground, but very, very costly, Nadim's Glow, when it didn't step cleanly from the gates. Missed it that half, ended up costing it probably a length and a bit. Craig side the leader where I thought it would, then I still reckon it would have won.
Got Winburn. It got Winburn.
Oh, mate, I've been a fan of... hang on. Let me have a go. Leave it to me. I've been a fan of it since it first started racing the Nadim's Glow, and I didn't think the ride was that good in relation to he could have been trying to push out. It wouldn't have won if it had 3 lengths start. That is the best... Mate, you're wrong, Al. That's the best sprinter in Australia going the line there, without a shadow of a doubt.
It's unbeaten at Way for Age.
Without a doubt.
It was Nadim's Glow. Had it have jumped, would have been outside the leader.
It was under
and
riding.
It would have been totally different.
It was under hard riding.
You don't understand tempos and comfort zones.
Oh, tempos and comfort zones.
Yes, you're in your lounge if you want. You're in your comfort zone.
That's not a kid. That's not a kid. Could have led if he wanted.
It was off the bridle at 600.
It was, but he wrestled it out of there.
What are you watching? What are you looking at?
I'm glad they're on opposite ends of the panel.
For you.
No, I like taking sides with Richard too much.
Boys, Andrew.
Oh my God.
All I can say is I'm glad I'm in the studio by myself this morning. Green Birdie.
For the first of our Group 1 races this afternoon, this is the Yalumba Stakes, featuring a red-hot favourite in El Segundo, $1.10 here on Super Tab for the win. Bookmakers are betting about $1.35. We'll be going out to Craig Newitt shortly, looking at on screen. Craig, many behind coming back behind you now. Have you had a good look at all of these?
Yeah, we've had...
Racing. El Segundo bounce with the field. Out quickly, Casual Pass. Pompey Ruler further out. Super Kid goes back. Fields of Omar begin only fairly, and he's going to be last settling down as Grand Zulu comes around the outside with Roman Arch. Now Pompey Ruler landed in front from Grand Zulu. The kid at the 800-metre mark. Pompey Ruler 3/4 in front of Grand Zulu. Now a link to Grand Zulu, Roman Arch and Casual Pass. A link further back, El Segundo. He's only 4 off the lead. A half behind him, Fields of Omar back to the rail, and 3 lengths last of all is Super Kid. They're coming for home now. Pompey Ruler first for home from Grand Zulu. Here comes El Segundo. He peels to the outside around Roman Arch. Then Casual Pass and Fields of Omar. In the straight, Pompey Ruler the leader. Down the outside, El Segundo with Grand Zulu. Fields of Omar back to the fence, but it's Pompey Ruler by 2. El Segundo having a dickens of a time to get to him. Then Fields of Omar followed by Grand Zulu. Pompey Ruler still in front of Casual Pass. El Segundo and Fields of Omar, and Pompey Ruler in front, diving Casual Pass. Casual Pass is diving. He might have got up on the line to Pompey Ruler. Right on the line, he might have got there. Casual Pass on Pompey Ruler. Third's tight, Fields of Omar or El Segundo. Then Grand Zulu. Further back, Roman Arch. And Super Kid is last of all.
And as we mentioned, a small field can often bring undone these short price favourites. Casual on, but Casual Pass just getting him on the line.
Yeah, it's a great Group 1 race, and it was determined by the tempo. We don't have an official number as yet. Yes, we do now. 6 has gone in the frame. Casual Pass. Nashville Willa for Matthew Allerton, of course, up inside. El Segundo gave them a significant start. I think under the circumstances, it wasn't a bad performance. Small field causes the upset. Matthew Allerton's a happy man.
David was adamant that he wasn't the lead, and I was a bit up in the air and wanted to give Nash a free rein, but you know, it was a great ride by Nash, well summed up, and you know, it took him a long time to get there, but thank God he did.
It's taken a long term for this horse. I mean, to get him back from all the problems that he's had to win a Group 1 Yolumba.
Yeah, massive team effort, fantastic. You know, from the vets up at Shepparton, Jim Vasey and Paul Alford up at the farm, and
it's mistakes.
He's come back and perform at that level after 3 years, and you know, we never lost faith in him. He's had one setback after another, and to get back and do that was very, very rewarding.
Yeah, you knew you had won.
Side of Knowles, man. Pompey Ruler, he just changed stride and really knuckled down and went to the line hard, and he was probably going to win by a neck, but to Pompey Ruler's credit, he kept fighting.
The going doesn't seem to be as good on the inside. Well, at the moment, that's what the professionals are thinking here, with everything sweeping down the middle and Pompey Ruler cutting back inside and getting beaten.
Beat Pompey Ruler. Will he go to the Cox Plate? Will he go to the Caulfield Cup? That decision is still to be made by David Moody and Matty Allerton. But he wins yesterday for Nash. What a turnaround in the spring.
To everyone.
Wasn't it a great Yolumba? I mean, we went there expecting to be a cakewalk for El Segundo. We came out with many scenarios.
We certainly did. Again, the pace of the race, I think, was critical. They didn't go particularly hard early. El Segundo still run home in 34.6. His run's satisfactory, I think, under the circumstances. Pompey Ruler, change of tactics, tried to pinch it in front. It very nearly worked. Casual Pass had the perfect track into the race. Nash threw everything at him at the close there, Simon, didn't he? The arms were going everywhere, and a couple of cracks with the whip and back to hands and heels, and he responded really well, which was a great result for a horse who back after the 2003 McKinnon Stakes did a suspensory ligament, and at that stage he was probably going to be the emerging star of Australian racing, Casual Pass, at that point.
Very true, Steve, and all credit goes to Matty Allerton and his staff there at Hobson's Lodge, and good luck to them.
Would you run him in the Cox Plate, or would you run him in the Caulfield Cup? Obviously, the horse will tell the connection something at this stage. He needs to pull up well. He hasn't been a good backup horse.
Yeah, well, he's never ran the 1.5 miles for one, and it is a tough 1.5 mile sprint, the Caulfield Cup. And in a Cox Plate at weight for age, he carries weight very well if you look through his career. And I think he'd just sit him behind him, and he'd look a winning chance in a Cox Plate, Steve? Because he'd get around there all right.
My Weller. And now that the ranks of our better horses are probably evening out, bar possibly racing to win, Casual Pass, I'd still be inclined to run in the Cox Plate. Next
Casual Pass, but the story of the race was the hot favourite beaten, El Segundo, no excuses.
And there's no soreness, so horse seems to be okay. As I said, we can't identify any problems.
Sharon just said he just wasn't the same horse today. He didn't. He's all right, Steve.
I'll tell you who might win the Cox Plate. Fields of Omar. Terrific run yesterday. 5th, 1st, 2nd, 3rd. I suppose that says he'll run 4th this year. He's a legitimate chance, Fields of Omar.
Lights are getting the ears, Steve.
El Segundo yesterday, terribly disappointing. I mean, I thought he'd win, and then when he didn't win, I thought he'd run really well, and I just thought he was
well and truly disappointing. And I think the Cox Plate shapes up as a one-horse race at the moment, unless something can pull something out of the fire. It's really the older horses, the Cox Plate standard horses, I don't think are there this year. I think it's going to be one of our weaker ones.
No guarantees.
This really is the first preparation that Matthew's been able to get at him.
He's a remarkable...
Maybe he is a horse of the highest calibre, because this is the first chance in 3 years to show it.
He's a remarkable horse. Now, the question has to be asked, do you stretch him up to 2,400 metres? He's by snippets and run him in the Caulfield Cup, which he is qualified for now, or do you run him in a Cox Plate?
Well, I'm going to leave that decision to Matthew and the horse, because the backup's the worry. We're pretty keen to run last week in the Turnbull insofar as his Caulfield Cup preparation. Don't know that he backs up all that well. The 1 week into the mile-and-a-half race.
Segundo, Richard, what do you make of that?
I was disappointed, very disappointed with El Segundo, and particularly disappointed over the last, 400 metres. I thought he finished off the race the last 50 metres okay, but I've rated Racing to win the #1 horse in the country, so I've obviously rated him above El Segundo, and yesterday didn't change anything for me, just reconfirmed what I've been thinking for a while. And
look, I understand that. He probably deserved favourite now on facts and figures. Racing to win is the favourite, but don't rule this El Segundo out.
Oh,
he's a valley. You're potting him as well, are you?
No, yeah, potting him against Racing to win.
Okay.
For absolute
Look, this
sure.
was the star at Moonee Valley, El Segundo.
Yeah.
Colin Little said earlier in the week that Gauchi didn't go hard enough in his work on Tuesday morning. Look,
he's a big racehorse, Ron.
Yeah, I reckon he'll have him spot on for the day, Colin Little. He knows what his target is, and he may have just had him underdone yesterday.
Don't undersell him.
Geez, Fields of Omar ran well. He will be a force.
He'll run well on the Cox Plate.
He'll pick up prize money again.
It's away from the Winning Edge presentation stakes over 2,400 metres, of course, formerly known as the Herbert Power Handicap. So, pairing that has the favourite Growl in the Winning Edge presentation stakes from a jump, and at the moment Growl is the favourite at $4.20, but continues to ease in the bookies ring,
which is very surprising, out to $5.50. We're getting close to it. It's a $200,000 Group 2. Next Saturday afternoon from this start, they'll be racing for $1 million plus prize money. That's first prize money in the Caulfield Cup. Let's go to Brian.
Gray goes into line. Kanaya is ready with Dolphin Joe. Tracks back. Got a big Racing, and Demerger jumped in the air and missed it about 1.5 lengths. Growl began okay with him. Bula, Savlate and Pavlova tracks back. Further out Special Scene, and wider out in the track Serera coming over fairly quickly with Growl as they come to the winning post, and it's Mbula from outside him. Growl, then Savlate, Special Scene, Serera 3 out. Lockheed is out, 4 wide out of the straight, 2 further back Dolphin Joe. Tracks back the inside, followed by Pavlova, followed by Gothic Marion, then Jagger, Field Hunter, followed by Purdy. Demerger second last, and Simon the Grey is last of all. 800 out now. Mbula a half in front of Lockheed. 2 further back Savlate, followed by Growl 4th. Then Serera Drax back. Special Scene. Still no change from Kanaya. Gothic Marion. Dolphin Joe the rail. A length then Pavlova. Field Hunter. Simon went up on the fence as they come around the home turn now. Mbula from Lockheed and Savlate. First out now is Growl going up out 3 deep when they turn in. Growl goes up to Lockheed and Mbula. Savlate gets the run. Then came Serera further back in the race. Then Drax back getting out, but Growl takes the lead at the 300 metre mark. Shot 2 lengths in front from Drax back, followed by Serera. Then came Purdy down the outside, but Growl has sprinted away. 2 lengths in front of Drax back. Growl going for home. He's given this a perfect ride, Williams, and Growl is going to win it and run his way into the Caulfield Cup. Wins 1.5 lengths Drax back. Third is either Simon or Purdy. Then Serera, followed by Jagger out wide. Back behind them, then Lockheed followed.
What a fantastic performance there by Growl. Craig Williams on board, just bringing him around the outside very easily, and he got to the line brilliantly. Trained by...
Weight drop 49 kilos next Saturday. He is now exempt from the ballot. He can't be re-handicapped. He's guaranteed a run. There he is in those Well, Purdy the mare running on late, and David Hayes would go away from this race very happy because the imported stayer Jagger also turned in a terrific performance. And
they've all run well for you there, including Jagger.
Yeah, they all jumped out of the ground, and Growl was very important. That was a 10 out of 10 Craig Williams ride.
The Winning Edge here with Growl into the Caulfield Cup, 49 kilos, Craig Williams to ride.
Yes, Bruce, and I guess the critical...
For Cup is equal in the markets with Our Smoking Joe and Zipping. Well, will he get in? Beat Drax back, who's an emerging stayer. Purdy was fantastic. Simon was fantastically ridden by Blake Shin, but at the end of the day, Steve Moran, Growl, was a deserved winner and a deserved chance in the Caulfield Cup. A performance equal of Like a Falcon last year.
You would think so, and he's going to go around next Saturday with 49 kilos. So on that basis, he's a legitimate chance. Like a Falcon, of course, backed up in the Caulfield Cup last year and ran extremely well. There's Growl going to the front, of course, Loneed inside him. Extreme left is Purdy, terrific run. Siamun's the grey pushing through in the middle. So these were all very good runs. Now watch for the grey behind Purdy, that's Jagger, who also gets to the line extremely well. So they're the key runs. Just believe what you see there. The first 6 over the line. They all ran particularly well. I really like the run of Purdy. She came back and had to go wide. She
was form prior to this, you know, less than the length to Zipping.
He did take no prisoners. Barrier 12, 1-1. He found the 1-1, but his lightly raced horse only having his, what was it, his 9th start yesterday. Whether he's seasoned enough to win a Caulfield Cup, I don't know.
That's the question, and that preparation is a tough one to come through the 2,400 metres only a week before and then back up in another 2,400 metres. And it hasn't been done, I think, since Beer Street did it. So it's been a long time since that double has been won. But this is a promising horse. I'll bet he runs very well because he is young and he won't get as tired as some of the old horses.
Look at the horse in the red cap running 3rd last here. It's a Melbourne Cup. This is a real 2-miler, Jagger. I don't know whether he's good enough. He's one of these 2-mile plotters, but he just hits the line like a 2-miler here. He's an imported horse.
Imported from England.
Purdy's run was all right.
Purdy's run was good.
Purdy got home all right.
Covered a stack of
Look at that. The other horse in the red hat. He's hitting the line like a 2-miler.
I liked him. Yeah, like
the thing about Growl, I think he's a nice horse. I don't think he's good enough. I don't think any of those are good enough or had enough experience to probably win a Caulfield Cup.
The thing about Growl, he's come from a Strathallan maiden win over 1,200 metres to his 9th run there yesterday. He's gone ahead about 14 kilos. I don't think there's anything left in the tank.
No.
He probably...
Speculation is the smallers in doubt. They'll meet today, and as you've heard from David Moody, I reckon my feeling is now, boys, after this morning, I reckon David's leaning towards the Cox Plate with Casual Pass, so that might allow activation and pop rock into the field.
OK, what's the situation with Zipping? It was scratched.
Zipping is... Yeah, it's going to miss out, Graham. They're going to pay up. They'll pay the acceptance on Tuesday.
For the feature event for the 3-year-olds this afternoon, the age Caulfield Guineas, as you said, worth $1 million over...
This afternoon, jumped from 1,200 to 1,600 to win the Stud Stakes, albeit on controversial protest. But...
Thank you. Darren Smith has got the favourite here, Court Command, and Stevie's been well tried to win.
Well, he's been the only one they've tried, Bruce. Court Command for Darren Smith and Digger McClellan. Digger yet to ride a winner in Melbourne, 33 years of age. Darren Smith, 37. They've both had a few hiccups along the way, but they certainly get their Group 1 opportunity here this afternoon in the court.
The Guineas signal, they're racing. And Churchill Downs bounce quickly. Court Command away fast and further out on the track here. Wonderful World and Escadair. Court Command got the lead in the early point now from Mustahir and Escadair further out. Churchill Downs over on the fence from Wonderful. Churchill Downs over on the fence from Wonderful World, settling up 5th, followed by Wordsmith. Then no, and last of all is the one. Court Command controls the race at the side of the 850. A neck in front here of Mustahir. A length further back. Churchill Downs gets a good run. Escadair works 3 deep. A length further back. Wonderful World running 5th, Wonder Wordsmith, then Mondano, Snort, further back Dan Ever Excites, followed by Sermione, Anamato back at the tail with the 1, on the turn, and Mustahir laying it down to Court Command, and they really increase the tempo, they crank it up in front. Mustahir and Court Command turn for home, waiting for the run is Churchill Downs, the leader shifted ground, and Churchill Downs gets the rails run. Churchill Downs goes through to join Court Command, Mustahir is gone, then Snort trying to get out, and Wonderful World down the outside. Court Command just the leader from Churchill Downs, Wonderful World, and out wider is the bolter Wordsmith. Court Command grabbed by Wonderful World. Wonderful World out in the middle in front, getting clear. Bart Cummings is going to win the Guineas. It's Wonderful World coming away, and Wonderful World a length and a half of the run home. Excites gets up to run 2nd. Court Command 3rd, a Brave 3rd. 4th is Churchill Downs, followed further back by the 1, Dan Ever. Wordsmith and Anamato. Further back, Sermione, Mondano. Snort didn't come on. Mustahir 2nd last, and last of all is Escadair.
What a sensational finish to the Caulfield Guineas. Bart Cummings winning another Guineas there with Wonderful World. Luke Nolan just getting him up to beat Excites, and Court Command, the favourite from Sydney, beat Guineas.
Well, what a transformation between Sydney and Melbourne for this horse, for Bart Cummings. 2 years in a row, the Caulfield Guineas. Caroline, make that 246 Group 1 wins now for the master trainer, Bart Cummings. Great race.
Favourite win, keep all the race goers happy. Mind you, I'm a little happy myself.
the moment for you to win it 40 years ago and to win it now, it keeps you a bit young and sprightly, Bart.
Well, I hope I'll be the next 40 years. I doubt it.
Luke Nolan, a terrific ride there. You couldn't have asked for a better ride from a young rider.
He is a very underrated rider, and I've got a lot of respect for his judgment. I'm always left it to him, and he carried it
years ago. Alpha, Kenmark, God's Own last year, and now Wonderful World in 135.9. Caroline, I can't wait to see the sectionals here, because I suspect that Court Command has run the race of his life despite running third. He was gassed in. Luke?
Thanks, Keith. Just bloody elated to get it behind me. I just... you wait a long time to ride a Group 1 winner, but the prestige of a Caulfield Guineas makes it even sweeter.
You're part of it. There was a 5th Caulfield Guineas win for Bart Cummings, and Wonderful World by Agnes World, trained by Bart, ridden by Luke Nolan, 650, beating Excites, and Court Command. More on the Court Command. Noel Keller, who rode Excites.
Yeah, he had Derby written all over him, didn't he? So I hope Mr. and Mrs. Moran decide to run the horse in the Derby, because...
But, you know, they'd leave me alone, and we're running pretty good sectionals up the front, and the horse just come up the outside of me with a bow in the reins and just kept eyeballing me the whole way. And you know, all I needed was a neck on him and probably would have relaxed, but I run the whole 1600. So at the end of the day, I was very happy with his run. But you know, what do you do? That's the race we wanted to win. And
did you feel that pressure was warranted?
Oh, you know, well, he ran probably 20 lengths last, so he's rode it real good, hasn't he?
Your horse wobbled around the corner, obviously was feeling the pinch there, but to run third...
Yeah, and you know, I didn't wobble around the corner. I thought they told me that Connections and the trainer wanted me to come off the fence a little bit, so I just come off the fence a bit, and to run third was a terrific job. He was
to the favourite Court Command, but Des Gleeson, chairman of stewards, invited the press into the stewards room late in the day to show them the race and analyse the sectional times. And, well, basically clear there. There was, they ran home quicker the last 800 than the first 800. Was Digger just looking for an excuse, Simon?
Yeah, look, I think he might have been, Bruce, because really well. So, in hindsight, he probably should have let him slide on the point of the bend and tried to get a break on them. But he's riding in for the mile the first time. He lost his turn of foot, the horse, and I thought his run was exceptional. Sides, added another...
Well, the sectionals, he was gassed in front.
Are you disagreeing then with the chief steward, Des Gleeson?
Of course, he's wrong. Des, you're wrong. The pressure was well and truly on. 59.8 for the first 1,000 from a standing start. You can take a second off at least. That's 58.8. That's low flying. Look, I have no problem with Damien Oliver. He can ride his horse however he sees fit.
But he didn't aggressively charge forward to sit outside Court Command?
No, I have no problem with that. I'm just simply pointing out the way the race unfolded. Court Command's performance to finish as close as he did and still a look a winning chance about 100 out was enormous. That horse is high class. He's a great horse, Court Command.
And the most 2 words used in...
Is are entitled to ride their race however they see fit.
Well, there's no change in tactics with Muzda here. There was no change in tactics with Escudero.
No. Interesting, of course. It further highlights the courage and the bravery and the ability of Court Command is that the 2 other on-pacers were distanced. Yeah. Muzda here and Escudero, they finished second last and last, beaten 15 lengths plus.
Do you have dinner with...
And there it is. Yeah. Wonderful work. She loves the Melbourne way of going, doesn't it?
After looking at it again, I'm not convinced about that tempo. They didn't put pressure onto the 800 there. He was jog-trotting that horse. He was jog-trotting.
Michael, you're referring to Muzahir going up to the leader, Court Command. Hang on, at about the 500. Like, with all due respect, Muzahir just hasn't put in. It's just thrown the towel in, given up. Irrespective of that, the tempo and the speed, the sectionals don't indicate or support your story about that. And the simple fact that Damien Oliver did not show aggression out of the gates to deliberately put any pressure on the leader. They both travelled there and travelled absolutely perfectly. The winner, simply too good, got the perfect run, went into the race with the perfect form, Its Caulfield form is absolutely fantastic. Court Commands was always going to be a little bit of a query at the 1600.
Come on, get on.
Okay.
What planet are you blokes from? Fair dinkum. Escudero, right? Stevie Arnold showed his intention. He wanted to lead. Damien Oliver could have been 1-1. He drove up inside Escudero. Just a minute, you've had your 3 minutes. Just let me finish, right? He drove up inside that horse and finished up joint lead from the 1,000 now, regardless of the tempo of the race. It doesn't matter. He could have won one on that horse. He got beat 15 lengths. He gave it none.
And being 2 lengths closer, you reckon that cost him 15?
Being joint lead from the 1,200 to the home turn doesn't give you a good chance of winning. 1-1, you got a much better hope.
Okay.
All right.
Another Group 1 coming up for you shortly. Of course, it is the Toorak handicap over the 1,600 metres. Now, it's an interesting betting race, this one. A couple of horses in the market here. The favourite has come in. It's number 4, Red Dazzler. Was well supported in the last couple of days and is still the favourite.
Yes, Caroline, they bet as much as $6 in fixed odds betting in the 48 hours before the race, sorting itself out with 10 or 11 minutes to go to this final Group 1 race of the afternoon.
Also,
good luck, Mark. Thanks. Pretty happy with them today.
So the best of him today?
Well, I'm pretty happy with them, yeah.
Good luck, Mark.
Thanks.
Mark Walker, the trainer of number 1, Darcy Brahma.
Racing this time, and Valedictum bounds quickly in front of Red Dazzler and Undue. Darcy Brahma Primus, and Rawaya is going to go forward from the outside. She's out 3 and 4 deep, but she's galloping up towards the lead. Red Dazzler in front. Rawaya is going to go up and join her when they settle down. They've only canted down the first half of the race, and it's Rawaya a half to Temple Hills. Red Dazzler gets a good run over on the inside, 3 deep Primus. Darcy Brahma 5th back in the middle, then maybe better 3 deep around Undue. Valedictum the inside, and 2 to Cargo Colt and Nicanero. The field swings down to the 600-metre mark. A big sprint coming home here, and it's Rawaya a neck in front of Temple Hills. Red Dazzler's had the gun run in the A spot over on the inside of Darcy Brahma, and Primus 3 deep. 2 further back, maybe better around Undue, followed by Valedictum. Then taking off is Cargo Colt and Nicanero, ridden for luck as last of all. Homeward bound now, Rawaya from Temple Hills. Red Dazzler climbing over their back behind them. Nicanero back to the rail. Darcy Brahma Primus further out from Undue. Rawaya in front here from Temple Hills. Red Dazzler. Nicanero sneaking up on the inside and wider out. Cargo Colt from the back with a big run. Rawaya the leader. Red Dazzler got up on the inside. Red Dazzler gets to Rawaya. Red Dazzler gets up to win the Toorak. A neck Rawaya. 3rd home is Nicanero. 4th Undue. Then Cargo Colt out deep from Darcy Brahma. Further back in the race, Temple Hills, followed by maybe better Valedictum, and back near the tail would have been Primus.
Well, he certainly deserved that victory, Red Dazzler. He's been thereabouts in Group 1 company for some time now, so a great home track for Mick Price.
Well, what a result. It was a farcically run race. They stacked up early. Red Dazzler had the perfect run behind them. Would have been a...
yes, the last Group 1, they're good with that late, but to win on your home track, Mick.
Oh, no, it's fantastic. I think Rustic Dream ran second here in the Toorak. I won a Lees a few years ago. But, yeah, Group 1 seconds, a bit of a choker. But, no, that was fantastic. He just had to make a bit of a decision to get a run on the fence there. So, probably gives us 2 runners in the Cox Plate now, because before the race we had a chat with Melvin Fu and said, well, if he wins, you've got to have a crack at the Cox Plate. So, yeah, that's the way we'll go.
1:37.58, home in 35.1. They ran 2.7 seconds slower the first 1,000 metres of this race than in the Caulfield Guineas. Luke, you rode the speed there. Oh, what was going on out there?
Yeah, it was Dwayne Dunn dictated the speed, and it was only very slowly run the first half.
The right reasons just afternoon, Simon.
Yeah, he did so, and he's a gun, Jimmy Cassidy, and that was his 99th Group 1 winner, folks, so he's got 1 more to go before he breaks the 100. Red Dazzler, we know he's formed from racing to win. We wanted to see him come back to Caulfield and produce something like that, and it was nice to see Jim always want to give the horse cover. I think he raced
a little bit in years now, but he's so consistent. He rides Melbourne extremely well. He's tough, he's competitive. It was a terrific ride. It was obviously as fat as a pig at Moonee Valley. Absolutely disgraceful as far as I was concerned. Went to Sydney, ran very, very well up there.
You've described his condition at Moonee Valley.
Yes.
So Mick Price has him timed perfectly to win here, the one he wants to win, and you've described his preparation as disgraceful.
I backed it at Moonee Valley.
Oh, that's talking through your pocket.
And I backed it the previous start before that when it ran second too. I wasn't expecting it to go backwards, I was expecting it to go ahead.
Well, you were wrong, and Mick was right.
Obviously.
Yes, well, that is quite obvious and quite normal. But I reckon Jimmy Cassidy, I reckon he should never have moved to Sydney. He belongs in Melbourne.
They love him down there.
He rides better in Melbourne. His attitude is better in Melbourne.
Pretty big statement, rides better in Melbourne.
He rides better in Melbourne. He should never have moved to Sydney, and it's not too late to move down there now. To the place the
that
way
was
he
hardly
rides.
a contest, that race. That wasn't a contest. That was just a jog trot. The back markers had no hope. A flattering race.
And the
They
fence
are
came good.
disappointing.
Where does Undue go from here?
Don't know what to think about him. He got held up, and he would have figured in the money there.
I thought its run was quite good. I reckon he'll probably even get a little bit further, and one other horse there.
Welcome back to Racing Review. Let's look at the latest Michael Iskander markets for the big three: the Caulfield Cup, BMW, the Tattersalls Cox Plate, and of course the Emirates Melbourne Cup. There's the Caulfield Cup market. Spinefighter 5-2, 350. Growl, Our Smoking Joe, and the Borderline zipping at $7. Serenade Rose $8. Activate. The big move, obviously, yesterday was Growl, Steve, $81 into $51 before racing yesterday. Into $11 after the win, and now into $7.
Interesting, isn't it? Because all week, David Hayes was happy to tell all those who interviewed him in the media that he was pretty bullish about Growl, and had he drawn a little better yesterday, he would have been extremely confident of a win. He said 4 or 5 weeks ago he thought he was a Caulfield Cup horse, so I guess there's a few people out there who probably availed themselves of the $80 before he won yesterday.
And you touched on it before on Sol.
Okay, well, let's have a look at the Cox Plate market. And didn't this change yesterday as well? You've got Racing to Win displacing El Segundo, $3 to $3.25. Now, you can get $4.50 in some places, El Segundo, after yesterday's disappointment, whatever you like to read it. Grace followed $9. That is the latest market for Michael Iskander for the $5 million race. Torquay and Yates, 2 internationals. One's trained here, one's trained in Ireland. $8. Railings, $10. Head Turner Smoking Joe, Spinefighter, $11. On Azure, $13. Steve was 31 last week. Did you bet?
No, I didn't bet, but somebody certainly has. And now he's getting to the point where he's unders at this stage.
All right, zipping there at 13. Imperial Strides, gates open.
If you build it, they will come. Up to $5 million up for grabs. It's the richest staying race in the world.
That's sort of about to mount for the running of the Group 1. Vinery Stud, 1,000 guineas, and the hot favourite is number 1, Miss Finland. And Craig Williams taking his lead. The Golden Slipper winner, Only Choice Shows, won the Slipper and come along and won the 1,000 guineas. Ha-Ha's run second, Burst third, bounding away sixth.
Well, that's the task ahead of her today, and we could argue band favourite around the $1.90 quote. Cheeky Choice, some late support, $5 on the tote, represents a touch of value. Been a terrific race.
Dane has gone in there racing now this time in the 1,000 guineas. They left in a good line, and Cheeky Choice went straight to the lead here from My Only Hope, and further out Swiss Act, followed wider out by She Will Be Loved, and Miss Finland's quickly gone back to second last. When they settle down, Jadane's on her inside. Promiscuous going forward, up on the outside, back on the fence, then came Jadane, and Miss Finland, he won't be booked for speeding today, Williams. That's last of all. Inside the 800, and Promiscuous is a good 6-7 lengths in front of Cheeky Choice. A length further back is She Will Be Loved, followed by My Only Hope. Then came Swiss Act, followed by Empress J, Jeff Mamont. Further back, Maid of Diamonds. Miss Finland comes to the outside. She's 7 lengths from the lead, and 2 to Jadane last of all. On the turn, Promiscuous straightens up about 3 lengths in front when they wheel around the home turn. Now from in second placing is Cheeky Choice, followed out wider by She Will Be Loved. Miss Finland, the widest runner, coming down the outside in front of her, Swiss Act. Promiscuous just in front. On the outside, She Will Be Loved, followed by in the middle, Cheeky Choice, and here comes Miss Finland. She's starting to get down the outside. Promiscuous still in front of Cheeky Choice. Miss Finland starting to fly. Promiscuous just in front near the line. They hit it. It's close. Promiscuous and Miss Finland. Third home is Cheeky Choice, and they're wide apart. Then further back in the race would have been Swiss Act. Then Jadane, She Will Be Loved. Further back in the race, Just Mamont. They're followed further home by Maid of Diamonds, My Only Hope, and last of all is Empress Jade. The judge has called for the photo. And number 1 has got it. Number 1 has got it. Miss Finland on the outside.
Miss Finland, the question was asked this afternoon of her, and she responded as a champion filly would. Fantastic.
Finland won, and huge effort, but a great effort by the leader as well.
On your filly, Miss Finland, though, the question was asked of her this afternoon, and she responded as only a champion filly could.
Oh, yeah, she did a big job. You know, obviously the tempo wasn't as fast as it looked with Damien. Pretty crafty rider out in front, you know, an informed filly, and she nearly held on and won. So that's all more merit to Miss Finland, who finished strong.
So they've run 137 plus.
Cox Plate, not sure yet.
What was the plan?
In the run I had, and then I got a nice card into the race, and Promiscuous seemed to get a long way in front. But when I when I came out the top of the straight, I was really confident. When I asked her to quick, and she actually got a little bit off balance and a little bit wayward, and then took probably about another 15 yards, and then she really knuckled down. Every time I asked her to extend, she extended fantastic and stuck her head out at the right time, and yeah, we're back in the good books.
Deliberations now on whether this filly will run in the Cox Plate. No filly has won that since around in 1976. If you had an input, what would be your recommendation?
I just sit on her and hope I make the right decision on her back.
Well ridden today.
70 and $1.20 the place. Number 4, Promiscuous.
An isolated shot, you see her. Well, it's a will to win in a great racehorse.
She really is, and the sectionals tell the story of the race. The predicted fast tempo wasn't there. Damien got away with murder in front, and really the way she was finishing, if it was another 10 yards, she would have won by a length and a half, I think.
So the decision now has been made that you run in the Cox Plate next Saturday?
Yes, it has, and we're sort of looking forward to the challenge, and I think the
post-race was John Massara absolutely adamant that he doesn't want any overweight. Obviously the weight for age scale, that's the Cox Plate. You want to have 46 plus your vest there. Lisa Crop has told you, or connections, that she'll ride 46 strong.
Yeah, and she's a pretty confident girl. She sort of told us what she'll do as well, so...
Okay. You know, slip a winner into a thing. Absolutely adamant that he doesn't want Guineas only once. Toy show, 3-year-old fillies into it. Well, there'd be a record, wouldn't it? Slip a 1,000 Guineas Cox Plate. But what's your feel on the challenge ahead?
Well, my feel is that you have to be a champion 3-year-old to win the Cox Plate. There's been one notable exception in recent years, Savabeel, but otherwise you have to be a champion. The Surround, Red Anchor, Taj Rossi, those sort of horses, absolutely exceptional. Now, there's every possibility that this filly is absolutely exceptional, and I guess the other thing, David, too, is...
Them Sheilas with that second horse would have been squealing, wouldn't they?
and
with those blackheads in Asia.
And it was so sad for them, because in the centre of the course, the big screen went down, and no one could actually see what was taking place going across the line, and the poor things, I felt sorry for them, because they all thought it won, and it went within an inch of actually winning.
I asked the question. I asked this question.
Yep.
Right? If the flip of the coin goes the other way and it misses Miss Finland, would you be raving about it as a Cox Plate chance then?
Well, yeah, interesting.
Hang on,
but that's a performance.
Be honest. Be honest. If it had run a second, closing second in that race, and not won, would you be saying this should be going to the Cox Plate?
Look, the simple fact that it still beats the Colts every time it's ran against the Colts, she's clearly the best. I think they're better off going to the Cox Plate as opposed to the Oaks, as far as I'm concerned.
What's wrong with the mile fillies and mares race?
No, you wouldn't take her to the Oaks. She's not Surround.
Is she going to the Cox Plate?
The Maya?
The Maya.
Miss Finland, oh yes, for sure, Graham, no doubt there.
Rich, bookies have just gambling against Raining to Win a little after opening it at $1.35. I told you that in the preview, Kenny. They're manning our board you by Coolmore. Just the 59 giving away that. Rightio, let's go. Raining to Win, $1.30. Quarter of a point longer on track. 12.930 for Bianca. That's pretty.
Crowley Stakes. Jump well crossed the floor. Face of the Earth on the outside was the best into stride, and a Leicester is under a lot of pressure to drive through underneath them and take the lead. Then came Heat of the Fire, followed by a 10. Raining to Win starting to improve, going up in between horses. And then coming inside the 600-metre mark now, and the leader is a Leicester from Cross the Floor and Face of the Earth. Tender's back on the inside. Raining to Win is peeling to the outside, coming up 4 wide now. Bianca's trying to go up underneath it from thrown in, and then came Heat of the Fire. As they top the rise, and the leader is a Leicester from Face of the Earth, and coming quickly now is Raining to Win on the outside. He's had to pull the stick on it, but despite that, it's raced up and hit the lead, and with the big weight, Raining to Win takes over from Face of the Earth, and down the outside, Bianca's charging home late. Raining to Win's getting tired, but he'll just last from Bianca. Raining to Win first, Bianca second, Face of the Earth third, and then came in behind them a Lister and thrown in from Heat of the Fire. A 10 was further back, and Cross the Floor has finished a long, long last.
Ah, that was a good brave win with the big weight. A good brave win indeed for Raining to Win.
Too much away from Raining to Win, because second up, and he did get to the front here, and you watch, he pricks his ears and half floats the last little bit. He was just having a look at the winning post, and she probably got a little closer than she might have. But I think it's very unfair to start lining this horse up against Racing to Win and saying, well, he's the next Racing to Win, because you know, law of averages says it's highly unlikely, and you'd have to tip against it, him being that good.
Bianca's one to follow.
Raining to Win's coming to Melbourne now for the Ascot Vale, now a Group 1 race. and something unusual.
To the Norman Robinson Group 3, the Colts en route to the Derby. There's a Eureka to get square. We'll go to Shane shortly. There's the Toads, Galen 890, Egomaniac 260, 293, 20. So it's way under everywhere. Alpha. It's 850 on Super Tab. So that's right, and about 7 points over, sorry. Tip the dips overs. 740 about Get Square. That's still big overs on Super Tab. And then
this time, Galen and Monteon bounce quickly down nearer the inside. Delago Miss went back with Ankmore Pork, is going to settle up last early. And in the fight for the lead on the outside, Tiranabar and Sir Largo coming over quickly to head off Fire in the Night. Sir Largo's second, third is Galen, who just over raced a touch there. Going around him now, Get Square, and Get Square's on the move over the top of the hill. And Get Square goes up on the outside to head Tiranabar, a length for the back, Sir Largo. Monteon bounce quickly down nearer the inside. Delago Miss went back with Ankmore Pork, is going to settle up last early. And in the fight for the lead on the outside, Tiranabar and Sir Largo coming over quickly to head off Fire in the Night. Sir, who just over raced a touch there. Going around him now, Get Square, and Get Square's on the move over the top of the hill. And Get Square goes up on the outside to head Tiranabar, a length for the back, Sir Largo. They steady in front, and the leader is Get Square, a half Sir Largo, a length and a half then over on the inside, Tiranabar. As they come down the side, the runs are coming now. Fire in the Night going forward. Centura taking off from the back, followed by Monteon. Allfire getting off the fence. Further back in the race, then shuffle back Galen. Ankmore Pork is on the move. They're bunching up now at Delago Mist. On the turn, Get Square. From on the outside, Salago. Centura there. Out 4 wide, 3 wide, Fire in the Night. Ankmore Pork, the widest runner with Egomaniac. All for waits for a run and back on the inside, Tiranabar. Into the straight, 400 to go. Salago goes to Get Square. Ulfa gets out from behind them. Then came Fire in the Night down the outside, Egomaniac, followed by Ankmore Pork. It's Ulfa going up to Sir Largo. Get Square fighting back. Get Square just in front. Ulfa starting to pack it back. Ulfa coming at Get Square. Get Square in front of Ulfa near the line. Get Square a half neck to Ulfa. 2 away third, possibly Sir Largo. Then charging later, Egomaniac, Delago Mist and Ankmore Pork. A gap to...
In here, the Sydney Galloper Get Square, Darren Beedman, 590, heavily tried on course, $7 and a $5.50. They've run 2.368. Messy race. Drew
Beedman, John O'Shea, $5.90 and $2.10. Ulfa $2.70. Salago $4.80. The Quinella.
Is O'Shea there. Beedman wins on Get Square. Now $4 favourite for the Amy Victoria Derby after beating the filly Ulfa. Sir Largo going okay for Danny O'Brien and Stephen King. Both good rides, I would have thought, David, there by Beedman, who was positive and trial. Norman Robinson's been a good guide. It was a bit of a messy race in tempo. I thought Ankmore Pork, he couldn't sack from that performance.
No, certainly not. It was the theme of the day yesterday, messy racing. They backed off mid-race and they chopped and changed in so many of the events. The pace was modest here, not as modest as it was in the fillies edition of this race, but they ran about 1:32 for the first 1,000 and just a tick over a minute coming home. So they certainly sprinted up. Darren Beedman went to the front on this winner. Good heady ride, but in terms of testing their staying capacity, it probably wasn't done in that race yesterday.
What do you make of it?
One thing I say about these, I think if it's an average run derby, which is reasonably slow most of the years, I don't think the winner of the derby will come out of this race.
Well, where's it going to come from?
Well, it's wonderful Will going round in the derby.
No, I don't think so.
He's not going to go around? We'll see. If he was going round...
Well, he's not.
Well, that's the sort of horse I want to back, something with a bit of class. Because I don't think any of these have got me. So I know something will win the derby. That's self-evident, right?
Well,
but
Richard,
I don't think it'll be... It's not a good horse's derby this year, and I think
we say that every year, Richard.
Here, this is the sprint coming up. What's happening out a leg up there? Black Ink, so from Queensland, as we look at the mounting yard for Coolmore, there's the 780 Black Ink, longer on course, 250 Shadowways, pretty much
wide would
770 Black Ink, 620 and 560. It's been quite easy on course. Shadowways will run favourite. Magnus, been solid, around $5.20, $6.20, that's overs everywhere. Queen of the Hill, $4.95, $96, $30 has been very, very easy, and Right Sun's been...
They're ready, the gates are back and they're off and running, and they jumped in a good line. Magnus, Biscayne Bay away quickly out wide with any suggestion. Amy J. Power, Shadowways went back in the early point. Driving through 3 lengths into Shadowways, last of all Amy J. Power. 6.50 out now, Biscayne Bay, Queen of the Hill. A half further back, Grayson Power. Power third, 2 to Magnus, fourth outside Black Ink. Then came Any Suggestion, pushing up in the middle, then El Mays, followed by Wrightson. Shadowways last, second last Amy J. Power. Homeward bound now, Biscuit Bay, Queen of the Hill, the fence. In the middle is Grayson Power, a length and a half to Magnus. Then further back, Black Ink trying to get out from El Mays, down the outside, Right Sun. Biscuit Bay, and on the inside, Grayson Power. Magnus coming at them on the outside, Biscuit Bay laying in. Magnus has loomed up on the outside to grab Biscuit Bay. Then further out in the track, Wrightson, Biscuit Bay fighting back, and Biscuit Bay comes back to win. A half head to Magnus, who had the race. Third home on the outside, Wrightson. Then a gap to Black Ink, followed in the middle by El Mays. Further out, Amy J. Power. Shadowways didn't come into it. Grayson Power dropped off. So did Queen of the Hill. And Any Suggestion is last of all.
Greg Charles makes the double. Paul Perry in Melbourne. They're a strong team. Biscayne Bay, 9, 7, 10 are your numbers.
2 this afternoon. Dominated on the speed. Biscayne Bay push forward to sit outside Queen of the Hill. Back markers never horse pushing through inside, and good performance. 15.50 for the winner, 3.20, 7 Magnus $1.50, 10 Wrightson.
It was Biscayne Bay, maybe it did, maybe Magnus loomed up outside, maybe that was the bonus. Biscayne Bay beating Magnus and Wrightson. Good performance there, Steve. Biscayne Bay ran okay time, 1:2:47.
Yeah, pretty quick time. It's near record time at Caulfield, sitting wide on the speed. Good strong performance. They weren't going that quickly up front, so the performances of horses like Shadowways and Right Sun, and probably to a lesser extent Amy J. Power, who was slow to begin, was sound. There's the winner, of course, the baldy face. Now it's interesting, Simon, he's sort of putting his head to the right, but he wants to lay to the left.
He's been a very naughty boy throughout his career, Steve. He's a bit of a head case, but Paul Perry, a big fan of Paul when he brings a team of horses to the Spring Carnival in Melbourne. He always strikes, and I was very impressed with this horse's first up win. He loves the distance. I knew that the 1100 at Caulfield was going to suit him. You can see him wanting to hang in there.
The other's no excuse. He's becoming a bit of a worry, this Magnus. He's looming up and he's not hitting the line at all. There was a couple of good runs in the race. Amy J. Power missed the start and ran on, and Shadowways had to do a lot of work from back in the field. And at this stage of the day, it was just impossible to come from behind. So, merit in the two back markers' performances.
Biscayne Bay turns his head to the side.
He's done it all
noticeably. I know. It's just the way he goes, isn't it? There's not a sign of anything.
And I know he's got white feet, but he is a very extravagant galloper.
Yeah.
He's not a good actioned horse at all, but Magnus, Ron, I think he hit the nail on.
Here we have Gay Waterhouse lining up to get a horse into the Cox Plate, perhaps, with Bentley Biscuit, favourite at 2.40 on the Super Tab. And dominates the market here. Royal Light 5.10, Bentley Biscuit 2.40, perfectly ready at $9.10. And the other horse in the market is New Edge, also down from New South Wales, 9.20 on Super Tab, nowhere near that here on course, around a 11-2 chance on course. But the totes again will go back to Shane shortly to get the very latest. It's been a good move in the ring for the 7 here. Royal Ida, 4.90 on Super Tab, shorter than that in the ring, 6.20.
All the push for Royal Ida here today. It's been a big go.
The big horse, but signal given, they're off this time. Chablais a little bit slow with Dennis Sierra, bouncing quickly, Live in Vain, Caprese Strip further out in the track. When they settle, Rubichon pushed up on the inside. They're followed by Bentley Biscuit, and settling into stride, Live in Vain took it up clearly. 2.5 racing a little at the 8.50. Live in Vain by 3. Caprese Strip second, a length perfectly ready, one off the fence third. Fourth is New Edge. They're followed further back by Royal Light of Rubichon, a length further back, Bentley Biscuit just off midfield. Chablais outside it from Volatomp, then came over on the inside Spirit of Tara at the 600, and Dennis Sierra last of all. Live in Vain 1.5, Caprese Strip at the 600, a length further back, perfectly ready. 2 further back in the race, then came New Edge. Bentley Biscuits got back to third last, not doing a great deal at the moment. Live in Vain went for home, shot 3 lengths in front, turning in now. Perfectly ready, the danger down the middle from Caprese Strip. Then a gap to Rubichon, followed by New Edge, and further out Royal Ida. Live in Vain grabbed by Perfectly Ready. Perfectly Ready's taken the lead, got clear, laying it a little bit. Perfectly Ready's coming away from Live in Vain. Caprese Strip, Perfectly Ready, too good, wins a length and a half. Live in Vain. Third, Caprese Strip. I think Bentley Biscuit got up to run fourth. He was struggling before the turn, followed by Rubichon. Spirit of Tara, then New Edge, further back Volatomp. Royal Ida might have run his race before they loaded him with Dennis Sierra and Chablais near the tail.
Well, he's a Group 1 horse, a Group 1 winner, and as Glenn Boss just looks to his side, the horse just rolls in on top of Live in Vain, who holds on for second. Caprese Strip
pace. I mentioned anything about how a race is likely to be run and the tempo, I want you to kick me, because I vow now for the rest of the spring my thoughts will be based only on form, nothing to do with how a race will be run, because it happens time and time again. It's happened again. The first three home here were the first three at about the 800. The speed backed off, Volatant didn't go forward, they took a sit on Caprese Strip, and suddenly the race turned around. Live in Vain beat all the road. They've run 122.3, no pressure up front. Probably under the circumstances, Bentley Biscuit to run fourth has been satisfactory. Certain
from barrier 12 and barrier, because there was always going to be...
Another who might freshen up for the Group 1 Salinger after winning at 1400 metres yesterday is Perfectly Ready, trained by Mick Price. Glenn Boss rides Live in Vain on pace, Caprese Strip on pace. On pace dominated race there, Simon.
Yeah, it was. Look, fantastic ride by Glenn Boss. Due to the fact he drew...
It's another interesting race where we saw no horses make significant ground. Now, the pace was strong. Maybe it's a portent of what we see over the next few weeks when you get high-class horse. Perfectly Ready yesterday, it was his first win on a genuinely firm track. That was my only reservation going into yesterday's race, but I take your point. Group 1 back to Group 3, he was too good.
Let's go, Mick.
And, you know, horses who are coming back from Group 1s and actually good runs in Group 1s, back to horses who have a run in Group 1s is always a good indication, and he was just way too good for him on the day.
Indeed, Glenn, yes. Glenn Boss, Mick Price, Live in Vain, Caprese Strip.
Hunters there too. Perfectly Ready to win it. Look, he's got ability, got back to his best yesterday.
Well placed.
Yeah, well placed.
Beautifully placed.
Bentley Biscuit got into trouble. I would think blinkers would be a real plus, because it did make nice ground over the concluding stages, and we know it's a class horse. It's the only one to follow, but Gay, I'd put blinkers on it.
I like Bentley Biscuit's run. He's still got upside to him. He got lost there.
Second run.
On-pace race and hard to make ground. I liked his last 50 metres. Disappointing if you backed him, but I thought it was a good run.
Bentley crowd here at Caulfield. 52,009 last year was the figure, and I think we'll get, well, pretty much close to that, Steve. I can't count it.
For the bottom one, Bashful, which has sneaked into the field. So if you're looking for some lead from the ring, it could be it. Otherwise, it's just an even betting race, and a lot of runners have been specced.
OK, that's Bashful D. Oliver, and of course it was well tried first up here, Steve, in Australia at 1200 metres at Caulfield. Ran in the race at Queen of the Hill 1 and ran well on that occasion, caught the eye.
Well, at the last minute, it might be the change of luck.
Just waiting for the signal. There it is now. They're racing this time. Speedy Rosser on the inside, bounced very quickly, and going with it after the start would have been Nuclear Free, heading up towards the front. Open Cut Kimura just behind those from Belbazaire. Day coming over now, and they're followed by Cosy Bay. Got into a bit of trouble. Divine Madonna's going to settle up midfield in the early point outside it. And last of all, Absolute Dream. The big field strung right out. And Nuclear Free comes down the side in front, about a neck to Day. A length and a half to Open Cup third. Fourth on the inside, Speedy Rosser. Belbazaire fifth. They're followed further back in the race on the inside by Kimura. Bashful three deep. Divine Madonna back running about eighth, just off midfield. Outside at Beauty Watch, the inside Cosy Bay. A length Sorenston, pulled to the outside, then Nova Star. Upstaged Astrodame. My Lansky, and last of all, Absolute Dream. On the turn, Day in front of Nuclear Free. Open Cup third. Speedy Rosser fourth. Bashful deep from Belbazaire the middle. Divine Madonna's only 4 lengths off them, about to get into the clear from Beauty Watch. Day got its head in front of the 300 now. Nuclear Free fights back and joins it again. Divine Madonna into the clear, coming down the outside with Beauty Watch. They're starting to go after the leaders, but the leader had kicked away. Nuclear Free in front of Belbazaire and Divine Madonna. Nuclear Free is holding them at bay, and Nuclear Free, another leader, wins by a length. Belbazaire. Divine Madonna ahead away third, a gap then to Day. Then a gap to Kimura, followed by Speedy Rosser. Upstage picked up.
Well, she remains unbeaten at 1400 metres. She's a winner too. She's won 10 of 18, and he's a winner, Darren Beedman. That's 3 for the day, 3 from 7 for D. Beedman. Brilliantly controlled race in front, because they've only run one.
In the Shiva Som Tristark Stakes, 15.75, 10, 2.20 for Belbazaar, $1.80 for Divine Madonna. Well
done there, the Johnny Blacker and Darren Beedman. Simon, what you like about that ride by Beedman? In a race where there looked to be a lot of go forward on paces, Beedman let it known early he wanted the lead.
Yep, that was the pattern set throughout the day, and Darren Beedman summed it up best.
Steve?
I'm a bit confused, Bruce. I'm not too sure what was going on most of the day there yesterday with the pattern of racing, but I think in reflection, they weren't going particularly hard here. Now, the times are a little confusing yesterday because they went 48.2 first 800, which is relatively quick, but I think that was wind assisted, and of course in the run home that was wind against, so the sectional times aren't telling a story. I think yesterday you just have to look with your naked eye. They weren't going particularly hard. He controlled the race from the front, and there was no great...
Australians as well, because maybe this spring in Melbourne isn't as strong as we thought.
I think you've got to forgive Divine Madonna. Raced a little bit closer under the circumstances. The performance was still good. There was a lot of that. Belle Bazaar I thought was pretty good too, but again, clearly on pace horses.
Didn't mind Sorensen there. Not a bad run.
Oh, got home?
Yeah, got home late.
Yeah, but how are you going to follow them? You know, it's going to be tough.
Just look for
You know, it's going to be tough.
Just look for something that's overcome the bias.
Get positive.
Now, of Caulfield Cup favourites Fighter have had their prayers answered with the 6-year-old drawing perfectly for Saturday's $2.5 million race. Lee Freedman.
Everything has gone to plan for connections of Caulfield Cup favourites Fighter, and things were no different at this morning's barrier draw. Co-owner Shane Crawford completing the final piece of the puzzle.
Barrier 8.
We're very happy. We're hoping to draw inside 10 somewhere, so only playing so far. It's an inexperienced horse, you know, and there was only a neck between him and our Smoking Joe on the Turnbull, and I think he's come along really well, so, you know, I'm looking forward to the race. Obviously, we're in with some good chances.
Mixed results for Lee Freedman's 2 other Cup representatives. Second favourite, our Smoking Joe, drawing ideally in 2, but Dual Oaks winner Serenade Rose will start from 15. With one-time favourite Zipping not making the field, luck finally went the way of Lloyd Williams. Activation drawing barrier 5.
There's been 2 late scratchings from the Caulfield Cup with the Godolphin-trained Imperial Stride and South Australian Derby winner Testifiable both being withdrawn because of injury.
Imperial Stride scratching and that of Testifiable paving the way for Land and Stars and one-time favourite Zipping to run. As was
$93. Bruce, last year's win at $12. Railings. Roman Arch 53. Probably a touch of unders, you would have thought.
Yeah, I would have thought so. Our Smoking Joe 550 doing battle with Fighter at stablemate for favouritism. And we look at the Ted Turner there. 22.20 for Beeben, going for 4 out of 4. Torquay 22, Activation 10. Pop Rock Ferroli 9.40 got fans. Serenade Rose 15.90. Aquadamore 25, Dazelle 63, Ice Chariot 52. We'll get to some chances here. 17 will be Fighter at $5.30 favourite, Growl 6.60 third favourite, and Zipping $13.60. And we don't want the 20 Fighter as the favourite. There's been a betting move already though for number 10, Activation, Steve.
Yes, Bruce, into around $8 on track has firmed a point, and you're shopping.
Last race they started to move on Activation. It's the other Lloyd Williams, Graham Rogerson runner, and I can tell you it's dwindled from about, they bet $10 here early on. There was plenty of $9.50 around. It's now into $8 generally, but a lot of bookies aren't even betting that. They've got him as short as $7 and some into $6.50. So
just 22 minutes time, and you can see our Smoking Joe very prominent there at $6.10 in New South Wales, $5.70 on course. And as we swing down, we might go through the lot of them. Delta Blues at 95.40. Oops, we've changed sheets, and you can see Activation's well in the market at 9.30. Pop Rock, the jump couple, where we'll see Fighter when we get on to page 3, $5.20.
And in Stars, and going to have a chat to Caroline.
Jamie.
Interesting, Damien Oliver, Pop Rock. Well, there's a little rally for him, of course, given his record in this race. And the Japanese, they've got a fantastic record travelling the world in recent years. It's amazing.
Signal, racing in the Caulfield Cup. Roman Arch and Ice Chariot a little bit slow to get going, so was Pop Rock. And down on the inside, our Smoking Joe bounced quickly, but there goes Serenade Rose and Centre Fighter going with it also. So at the judge the first time, and it's Serenade Rose in the centre, Centre Fighter pushing up as our Smoking Joe. So the 3-man runners are running 1, 2, 3 out of the straight, followed by Aquadamore. Then short pause, further back in the race and Activation. Delta Blues is deep, further back then came Railings, Torquay the inside. Grand Zulu 3 deep from Roman Arch. They're followed by Pop Rock, Ice Chariot. Then came Land and Stars wide around Growl. Further back was Zipping, followed further back by Head Turner. And 2 lengths to Zell last of all. Out towards the 1600 metre mark at our Smokin' Joe. Leads the Caulfield Cup out by 1.5 lengths to Serenade Rose, 1 length to Aquadamore third. Fourth is Centre Fighter, 1 off the fence. Then Short Pause. Grand Zulu was starting to make ground around the outside. On the fence is Activation. Further back then caught wide as Delta Blues. They're followed by Torquay on the inside. Back in the middle is Railings. Roman Arch 3 deep, followed by Ice Chariot. Then Pop Rock Growl. Land and Stars. Further back then is Zipping, followed by Head Turner. And Dazelle over the top of the hill at the 1200 metre mark is last. The Caulfield Cup field. Jimmy Cassidy on Joe. It's our Smokin' Joe. Out in front by 1.5 lengths to Serenade Rose. And they're followed by Aquadamore. Out 3 wide on the outside. Grand Zulu fourth. Fifth on the inside, Centre Fighter. 2 lengths further back then came Activation. No change in the order. Delta Blues is 3 deep. Short Pause the middle. Then Roman Arch. 2 lengths further back in the race. Then came Railings, followed by Torquay. Then Pop Rock. Well back in the Caulfield Cup is Ice Chariot. Land and Stars followed further back by Zipping. 2 lengths further back to Zell. And last of all is Head Turner. Coming down towards the 700 metre mark. And the leader shifted ground here. Our Smokin' Joe and Aquadamore get up on the inside from Serenade Rose third. Then on the outside, Delta Blues has been wide from Grand Zulu. Right behind them, Centre Fighter 2 lengths away, and then came Activation into the clear. Homeward bound in the Caulfield Cup, and Aquadamore with the rails run. Aquadamore took the lead, turning in now from our Smokin' Joe. Centre Fighter under pressure. Then further back, Serenade Rose, Delta Blues, Activation coming down the outside. It's Aquadamore the leader. Our Smokin' Joe fighting back. Torquay coming from a long way back. And Activation out wide. Centre Fighter the centre. Aquadamore in front. Torquay gets a late split. Torquay grabs the lead. Torquay wins the Caulfield Cup. Beats Aquadamore and Delta Blues. Then Activation. Pop Rock was running on from further back. Serenation into the clear. Homeward bound in the Caulfield Cup, and Aquadamore with the rails run. Aquadamore took the lead, turning in now from our Smokin' Joe. Centre Fighter under pressure. Then further back, Serenade Rose, Delta Blues, Activation coming down the outside. It's Aquadamore the leader. Our Smokin' Joe fighting back. Torquay coming from a long way back. And Activation out wide. Centre Fighter the centre. Aquadamore in front. Torquay gets a late split. Torquay grabs the lead. Torquay wins the Caulfield Cup. Beats Aquadamore and Delta Blues. Then Activation. Pop Rock was running on from further back. Serenade Rose to Zell. Right there with them, Centre Fighter, followed by Railings. In behind the field then came Activation. Didn't come on from Grand Zulu. Zipping never in it, followed by Growl. Well back was Roman Arch. Serenade Rose pulled up quickly from Head Turner, Ice Chariot, Land and Stars, and Short Pause last of all. David Hayes, Dwayne Dunn have won the Caulfield Cup with Torquay.
Torquay, a brilliant ride by Dwayne Dunn in the Metropolitan, a brilliant ride by Dwayne Dunn in the Caulfield Cup. Even David Hayes said this horse will be better at Flemington. If he is, he's the Caulfield. He is now the Melbourne Cup favourite.
Well, it's shades of Railings, of course, last year. Dwayne Dunn, let's have a look. Angling through. Caulfield 2400, of course, the shortest way is the fence. Aquadamore, the mare, when our Smokin' Joe rolled off the fence of the 600, he's given the horse on his outside, Smokin' Joe, a bit of a shove, but the race was over, and Dwayne Dunn, inspired ride. He's covered no ground whatsoever, unlike Activation, who's come extremely wide and run on very well.
Well, Delta Blues.
Closing stages again, the side-on vision. David Hayes, let's have a word with David.
Fantastic performance by Torquay.
Just fantastic. Didn't get the luck, and then Dwayne just weaved a bit of magic and got him through, and that last furlong was exceptional.
He got away to a good start. He wasn't too far back, which was obviously the concern from the inside draw.
No, and he loves racing inside horses, and Dwayne just kept his cool and got the runs, and I think I rode him harder than Dwayne the last furlong. It was very exciting.
And I remember after the Metropolitan thinking he's a lot like Jeune. How do you think he'll go in the Melbourne Cup? That's a great trial for the Melbourne Cup too, isn't it?
Oh, you couldn't ask for a better trial going into the Cup, and winning by such a small margin, his re-handicap mightn't be too big too. So, but look, we couldn't be more excited. Everything's just spot on, and when you run for $2.5 million lead-up races and win them, you're always happy.
Absolutely. Well done. Thanks a lot, David.
Thank you.
David Hayes there, the winning trainer of Torquay in the Caulfield Cup. Back to you, Bruce.
Until of course, Monday morning. 11 horses have completed the Caulfield Melbourne Cup double. Could this be another one? Torquay, Dwayne Dunn, David Hayes, $23.10 if you found him, $6.40. Aqua d'Amour, $6.90, and $20.50 for the Japanese horse, number 1 Delta Blues.
He was terrific.
I was going into the race, no one seemed to believe us, and you know, I was excited about the horse, and he's just come through for me, and it's great to be a part of history. It's fantastic.
He did what Railings did last year, win the Metrop and win the BMW Caulfield Cup.
Kick and then stop him and start him again, and he ran into a real traffic jam at the top of the straight when I just went to make my run out, and for him to go back inside and still accelerate and keep going like that is an excellent performance.
Your trainer, David?
Yeah, well, they said the Metrop was a good ride, so I think that was as equally as good.
Dwayne Dunn, congratulations.
And a brilliant ride, wasn't it, by Dwayne Dunn. We'll talk about some of the other rides shortly and some of the other runs. But Torquay takes the Caulfield Cup, $17 into $5 with Michael Escander for the Melbourne Cup and favourite. Aqua d'Amour, Gay, runner-up in a Caulfield Cup. Delta Blues, fantastic for Nashville. A host of good runs here. Pop Rock was brilliant. But let's start with the winner, Steve. And David Hayes went into this race, and we'll chat to him shortly about this, saying if he was able to win this race, that'd be a bonus. The Melbourne Cup's what we're here for. Well, he's got the bonus. He's got a $250,000 bonus from the AJC already for winning the Metrop and the Caulfield Cup. There's another $250,000 waiting if he can win the Melbourne Cup, and that's his big target.
Well, very much the case. Lots of bonuses, only one penalty in the offing, which will be announced tomorrow morning, of course.
Get 2 kilos. Is it? Railings got 2 last year. Railings got 2 last year after winning the Metrop. Same scenario. He'll carry 55.5. That's my tip.
And it's interesting that whilst only 11 horses have ever completed the Caulfield Melbourne Cup double, it's become more common in recent years.
Times.
Yeah, 4 or 5 in the last 15 years. Torquay was terrific. Dwayne Dunn rode for luck. He got it. He rode the same way in the Metropolitan. We watched the vision again. Not quite the critical point of the race here. It was a touch further back when Michael Rod on activation chose to come off the fence, which some people have harangued him for. I certainly wouldn't. I think under any normal circumstances in a big race, you'd want your jockey to be getting off the fence at the 600 and finding some clear running. We watched the finish there. That's Pop Rock climbing over their hills behind them. He was terrific. Activation was good. Lots of good runs in the race.
Dozell was good there. Now here's the inside shot here. You've got Aqua d'Amour. You take us through it there, Simon. I mean,
Aqua d'Amour in front. Look, she travelled a little bit keen in behind her, Al Smoking Joe. Sveno Fighter and Serenade Rose. That's her in the pink colours, just dropping back. Had gun runs, 3rd and 4th. And then Activation was following them back in that slipstream, back on the fence at the 600-metre mark. Now, Michael Rod was sitting outside following Activation at the time. On Activation, creep up and ride for a little bit more luck. It's going to play into my hands. Rather than push another 2 or 3 horses on his outside to then get out Torquay, he wouldn't have won the race.
But he had no luck. He had no choice from the word go, Dwayne, too. He had to ride the horse that way right from the start, from that inside draw on a horse who was going to get back.
And you know what gave him the confidence to do that? He's riding the Metrop. He rode him exactly the same way.
Precisely, that's it. Tell us about Hayes. There's some of the beaten jockeys.
I was really happy with the way the race panned out. You know, Jimmy had a nice steady run in front, and I sat second, so I left it alone till probably the 600-metre mark, but she just never finished off. She was a beaten horse in the top of the turn.
He bundled the start as he's done only once other time, and unfortunately it's a rear move to ride him back, and the pace never suited him. He actually over-raced in a real position, and I thought under the circumstances he ran very, very good.
I was in a position where I couldn't win anyway, right? So because the tempo was so slow up the front there. So, but I still would have liked him to really do something from about the 1200 to about the 600, tow me into the race and give me some sort of feel. He was off the bit and really not travelling at all.
We got one.
We touched on going into this race that you'd been adamant in saying that if you won the Caulfield Cup, that was a bonus. Well, it was, because you picked up $250,000 as well from the AJC. Yes. But you must be really sitting pretty now heading towards Flemington.
Yeah, I haven't really looked at some of the losing runs, but I understand there are a few that are a bit unlucky, as they always are in Caulfield Cups. But just watching my horse, I couldn't ask him to do any more. He had his share of bad luck, and what I love about him going to Flemington, he has that ability to relax and can quicken when Dunn pushes the button, and that gets you out of a lot of trouble in races.
Okay, you can watch the footage here. I know you've seen it, as you said, 200 times. So you can probably call it yourself. You can do a Brian Martin for us. I was
under a bit of pressure there.
Again, that was interesting, wasn't it? Because on the first look, we all thought, oh, gee, how lucky he was to get through. But he was held up for a few strides.
He was held up, and here he gives Smoking Joe the heave-ho too, going through there. If he was a timid horse,
that was close enough for him, you know, not to. That was enough excuse not to.
David, what of your other runners yesterday? What was the post-mortem there?
In the Cup, Growl missed the start slightly, and Craig had to be a little bit aggressive on him, and it started him pulling. And I have a theory in staying races, if they pull, they don't run well. And that's what happened with him.
On the Caulfield Cup, best runs?
Best runs, clearly the two Japanese horses, Pop Rock, Delta Blues, and I tell you who else was a fantastic run in the Caulfield Cup, Grand Zulu.
Let's get some birthday cake, though.
Well, I think Delta Blues and Pop Rock were absolutely sensational. I thought Activation had every chance, and he just peaked, if you like, the last 20 when you watch a replay from the helicopter shot, and Talk 20 when you watch a replay from the helicopter shot, and Talk Eat, absolutely sensational. You know he's going to run the 3200. He's on his way up. He can sit, he can park. If he gets a similar run to Jeune, a great ride from Wayne Harris here, he could do it again.
Thank you. The Metropolitan was just about dead and buried.
Yeah, exactly. That was going down to a Group 2 by all reports, but the last 2 years they put a bonus on for the horse that can win the Metrop or the Caulfield Cup and the Melbourne Cup. Railings did it last year and collected $250,000. Torquay come out of winning the Metrop and won the Caulfield Cup, and Activation come out of that race as well. So it's got a new lease of life, the Metrop, and should be a Group 1 race for years to come.
Good, okay.
There's an Activation.
Activation, all things being equal, would have beaten me up in Sydney, and so I was quite happy to follow it everywhere it went, but when he elected down the side to get out and give it some room, I was quite happy to go inside and ride for luck. The thing is, David...
He won by a narrow margin, and there was probably 6 horses within 1 length, so I can understand if he doesn't get a big penalty.
That'll do me.
Best is there a message?
Oh, I've heard better. I've heard better.
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh, that's as good as
someone on your team. When
oh, cut it out. No, look, this horse. Look at this horse flattening out here. He's a real stayer, and the run in the Metropolitan probably improved him.
Yes.
That 2,400 metre run before this, with a decent break between. The way the race was run with solid pace up the front and a genuinely run Caulfield Cup, the last 20 metres, that run in the Metropolitan helped him. Look, he rode for luck, he got the luck, he almost didn't, but that's how you win these big races. And Dwayne Dunn, a very good rider. He's not just capable.
He's gone to the next level.
Yep.
He certainly has gone to the next level, and it was a very good ride. But look, I think he summed things up beautifully in that interview, where all things being equal, Activation should have beaten him in Sydney. Well, he's come to Caulfield, and the same things applied. He rode for luck, actually came off the fence there and got himself into a bit of trouble, was able to duck back to the inside and go home and win. But Aqua Moore rode, you know, Stephen Baster rode the gun race and look, gave it every conceivable chance. And Ronnie and I were talking earlier, like, may have even, in fact, got to the front too soon. However, those things happen. I thought calculated ride by Michael Rodd on Activation. It was the perfect ride. He came out and, OK, things didn't quite work. It battled on because it was tough to make ground. Damien Oliver's horse was a very, very good performance, Pop Rock. Hung in very, very badly too, but overall, look, these horses are going to go to the Melbourne Cup and run very well. Delta Blues too.
I'll tell you the key to the winner is blinkers. He's a 5-year-old bull. He's had blinkers on twice and won 2 good Group 1 races. He's needed the blinkers. What about the Japanese? Fair dinkum. You'd swear blind the Japanese jockeys were riding them yesterday. Delta Blues was sensational. He was wide, no cover the whole way, and Pop Rock, he was about to sprout wings and run into a few dead ends where he wanted just a little. He wanted to hang, which is a bit of a problem. I think,
can't trust him. I can't trust those Japanese horses. They, you know, I saw what was his name last year?
The 2 runs of the race.
What was that horse last year? Eye-Popper last year. It was the, you know, he was just going to win the Melbourne Cup and he ran terrible. I just think it's very hard for horses trained the way they are. They come off very, very long breaks between runs to run at that level in a hard-run Caulfield Cup and then improve again in 2 weeks in a foreign country. I think it's a huge ask. Well, and I'm not saying they can't do it, but I'm not trusting him.
I think it was costly too.
Benno Fighter and Serenade Rose, well, they're both off to the paddock. Lee believes they've both certainly done enough this preparation and aren't right for the Melbourne Cup, but certainly our Smoking Joe. Question mark Cox Plate, but certainly the Cup at this stage is the main target.
Want a wet track, Joe?
Actually, Andrew, one quick one.
OK, race 9, 13 minutes away there. The Tate's on screen. Polar Bear 440, better on course. Show Barry 690. Better on course. 740 Spinny. Well, that's big overs. It's 2 points shorter on course. Ruby Jean 920. That's about right. Also in the market, Temple Hills on the second page here, around the 10-to-1 mark in the betting. The running favourite is Polar Bear, and it's around $5 a field here on course as we go to Brian.
13, the riders are half over. The Remington Coonji handicap over the $100,000 race. They're getting set now. Back was Grey Song. Tick by first out from Accumulate Glebe Run. From the outside, Octrivia. Going forward with Polar Bear and above deck. Further out with Show Barry. About 4 or 5 across the track early, and from the outside, Octrivia will take it up from Polar Bear, but they're working up on the speed with Show Barry third early. Fourth over on the inside, Tick by 2 lengths above deck from Ashford on the outside of Ruby John. Then came Temple Hills, followed by Evasion, Maybe Better, Jose Amigo, and 2 lengths to the grey, the old timer. Last of all, Grey Song. They're inside the 600. Up before the home turn, Octrivia just in front. Coming around the home turn, moving up on the outside to put pressure on Show Barry 3 out. Polar Bear is outside the lead. Further out is above deck. Accumulate under pressure. Octrivia gone. Polar Bear hit the front. Show Barry comes at it from above deck, and here's the New Zealander King of Ashford down the outside. Temple Hills is getting a run. King of Ashford has hit the front from Show Barry. Temple Hills coming with a big finish on the outside, but the leader is King of Ashford from Temple Hills, and Maybe Better flying. Maybe Better getting over the top of the middle get up. Maybe Better a half length. King of Ashford, Temple Hills third, and Cat's Fun is fourth. Then further back, Polar Bear, Show Barry, followed by Tick By, is last, no, bar one, last of all, Jose Amigo.
Well, drew the outside alley. Maybe Better went back the second last, gave the leaders 20 lengths and came with a beautifully timed run for Arnold to now King of Ashford, who looked home. Temple Hills continues a frustrating run for Pete Moody, but Maybe Better was bets on the coming. He's
a 32-year-old. He's got a pretty good record in Japan. He won a recent World Super Jockeys Series.
The Kiwi King of Ashford, but Maybe Better swoop. Temple Hills honest again. There's one in there you just want to keep following very shortly. He's a Ruby John. He probably finished about 12th or 13th.
The 350 to the 200 at least, where there was a traffic jam, and Steve Arnold summed it up best. Maybe Better's been a fantastic horse, ridden quiet with a turn of foot. He was tested at Way for Age, and some say he may have failed, but I think he's still maturing and learning what it's all about. Here at race 9 during the day, you had the classic case of all jockeys waking up to the fact that you have to be up on the speed, you have to be there near the fence, and let's all get there from about the 600 to the 400. Well, Stephen Arnold summed it up best. He let them all go, waited, got to the outside and let the horse work home with no trouble. And you can
Well, he was on the best horse and he rode it that way, as it turned out. Again, we talk about alternatives and choices. He had little from that gate. They went.
No, certainly. He's always had a heap of ability, this horse, but he's one-dimensional. He doesn't drop the bit and help himself. When he gets into a fast-run race, he's up to the best of them, believe me. And a lovely ride by Arnold there. Switched him off, found cover, and bang.
If this horse learns to settle in his races, I reckon he's got a beautiful stayers action, that horse. And if he learns to settle, you could see him running a good, strong 2,400 metres in top company. But if he's going to beat himself by pulling in staying races, well then he's going to take all that staying ability and negate all the advantage he gets from his beautiful stride. He's got a lovely stride.
Brian was a bit unlucky. He took him back.
Tattersalls Cox Plate from Michael Escandi. Here you go. $3.30 racing to win in El Segundo. $8 Miss Finland, El Crop to ride. $9 Grey Swallow, Stephen King. $11 Letter the Manor, Greg, looks to be what we'll have in the field.
I still don't understand casual past $26 and Pompey rule of 15.
I agree with you, Simon. Most unusually.
Yeah, these fixed prices.
Actually, Randy, he huffs and puffs after he has his gallop.
That tells you a lot. Torquay, our favourite, $5. Penalty announced tomorrow, possibly 2 kilos. Yates, $6. Pop Rock. Steve had to be in admiration of his performance yesterday. Pop Rock, Delta Blues. Now, jockey Yasamari Awata has the ride in the Melbourne Cup. On the June, $13. Darren Gauci rides that horse at Geelong. And some bigger overs here. $19.90 for Kerry O'Reilly. It's 10 points shorter. And see, on a June there at $7.60, it's longer on course. Vanquished. Back money's coming for track. $5. That's overs. Shorter on course and has been backed. It's a good move in a cup when the market's to 140. Exactly what's happening here on course. And Irazu, Steve Richards, well, he was buoyant after. Look at these. 14 is tracks back. 470, 470, 440, shorter on course. Clear favourite, clear mark.
Line is good. The gates are back and they're off in the cup. Drake's back on the inside, has begun okay, but he's going back after the start. Exalted Time and Kefaloo, Professional Lady. And further out on the track, going forward on Ajern, wider out Mandela. And coming over fairly quickly from the outside in the early point also is Envoy. Down at the winning post now with the circuit to go. Mark of the Geelong Cup. And the leader still Kefaloo by a length to Mandela. A length into Exalted Time. 1.5 to Irazu. He's got him with a good pace in front to be running fourth. 2 lengths further back on Ajern, fifth. Drake's back sixth on the rail. Then came Envoy, 3 deep around Professional Lady. Over on the inside, Kerry O'Reilly, a length into Vanquish, 1 further back to Fining. Then Natural Blitz, followed by Simon. 2 to Diamond Jake Vengo, then Pentane, and Esther Karema's last of all. 600 out in the cup. And Kefaloo making a bid for victory in front. A half length to Mandela from Irazu, third. Fourth is Exalted Time from Onajern. Then further back, Drax back, waiting for the run from Kerry O'Reilly when they turn for home. Into the straight now, and the leader Mandela. He took over from Kefaloo. Then Drax back, followed by Irazu. Kerry O'Reilly up the middle from Onajern. Then came Vanquish down the outside, but Mandela the leader at the 150, shot away. 3 lengths in front of Drax back. Kerry O'Reilly and Kefaloo. Mandela's going to do it. Mandela's got the cup one. Vanquish coming home late, but Mandela 2 lengths to Vanquish. Drax back third. Kerry O'Reilly fourth. Then further back was Kefaloo, followed by Onajern Simon. Then came defining Irazu. Well back into it from Mr. Kareem. Envoy. Exalted Time, followed by Diamond Jake, and Natural Blitz is last of all.
Into the Melbourne Cup now goes number 15, Mandela. Great ride on the pace for Craig Williams. Just outstayed them. Vanquish runs on. Drax back every possible chance. It's a Kiwi victory. Williams riding the pace here. Gets outside of Kefaloo.
Did say in the preview that a couple of seasons back, this horse ran second in the New Zealand Derby to Excellent, who at the time was New Zealand's key horse. Well, he's right back to that form. Have a look at that. He really powered away. Drax back had a beautiful run, got out, and he's run well. And Van 210, you're probably never going to miss the place the run he had. The Quinellas paid 57.50, exacta of 190.
You're the trainer, and Craig Williams. What about Vanquish run?
Very good run. The big B word, the big bias. The big bias at Geelong there was up the fence in front, no hope down the middle. So Vanquish was the best run in the race, but the winner looks strong. He looks a good type of horse, and he's got a solid record.
Now Vanquish will have to go through the Saab to get into the Melbourne Cup because he's
formerly known as the Moya Stakes, now known as the Schwepp Stakes over the 1,000 metres. And Steve Redug appears to be the one to beat. He's heading to Hong Kong after this to take on Takeover Target. So Joe Pride would be hoping for a victory here first up.
Certainly, the horse has got a brilliant fresh record. Joe says
a couple of big, really sizable bets let rip here. So no doubt the market move, and the one they want here is your pick, Redug.
Terrific, thanks for that update, Sean.
The dash, Gates are back and they're racing. California Dane and wider out General Baton. Poet's Voice have begun brilliantly. Honolulu back behind them with Regug and Let Go Tomo pushing up in the middle. Only about 3 lengths covering the field. General Baton goes to the rail to lead by a neck. Nato on the outside, Poet's Voice. Redug lost some ground and dropped out to a clear last. California Dane went up third, Honolulu fourth. 2 to Let's off them and starting to close, and 2 lengths to Redug. On the turn, General Baton, Poet's Voice, a length California Dane. Let Go Tomo a length away to fourth. Honolulu struggling, and Redug is a long way back. Around the turn, Poet's Voice, California Dane. Joining in on the outside, Fallon, and down the outside, Let Go Tomo. California Dane hit the front now. After it, Let Go Tomo, but ducking in. Kieran Fallon has got California Dane breaking clear, and California Dane will do it. California Dane, a length and a half. Second, Let Go Tomo, a length and a half. Third, Poet's Voice, and Redug was fourth. Then came Honolulu, and General Baton is last of all.
Well, Kieran Fallon strikes here in Australia on this trip with Lee Freedman, and the horse finds his Mooney Valley form again. You can see just trucking to the race. Horse too good. Redug got into a bit of trouble early. I'm not sure where it came from.
No, I think it might have come from Kieran Fallon. This horse, California Dane, now 5 wins from 6 starts at Mooney Valley. Shades of...
You had many Aussie jockeys after it, but you went for Fallon. For what reason?
Well, surprise factor, I think. And he knows these Dane Hills too. He's ridden 1,000 of them in Ireland, so great for him.
It is. And where does California Dane?
Yeah, it was a good ride. So he took me around there nicely and flapped around a bit in the straight, but it'll come to me, I think.
Well, you think you're saying your timing's in trouble?
Well, I don't know what time we started. The whole lot is just, I haven't ridden for 3 weeks either, so, you know, it'll be all right after today.
Good to get that one out. Got the prize, California Dane back in his best form at Moonee Valley for Fallon and Lee Freeman, the son of Daniel. Let Go Tomo, Poet's Voice, and no doubt the unlucky runner was the favourite there, Red Erg, who, well, interference early. Hugh Bowman thought about protesting. Margin 2 grade. Joe Pride absolutely livid, trying to get this horse to Hong Kong for the sprint at the end of the year. This was the only race he was going to run in prior to it in Australia. Simon, you go through it here from this angle, which doesn't show you exactly what's happening.
No, California Dane is a complete horse on the outside of the purple cap, drifting back to third posse. Red Erg's second last in the red colours, and he's got Let Go Tomo getting up inside him, one off the fence. Now, what happens here is he just drifts across. He doesn't even look here, Karen Fallon, to know that Hugh Bowman 3D is back inside him. Checks him quite severely, runs completely out of room, and then tightens Let Go Tomo.
On the race.
Nothing much race really. California Dane back to the scene of the crime. Moonee Valley, where he performs well. This was a substandard Group 2 sprint race. I think despite the margin that interference cost Red Erg the race, I'm sure he'll still get a Guernsey in Hong Kong. He's a Group 1 winner. He should have won. He should have won. Enough said.
Put out of the race. He completely gets put out of the race. Fallon gets suspended over the incident, rightly so. Looks like a Clayton suspension to me. 2 Metro... Yeah, well, him or we'll watch the race.
Certainly responded in the straight, California Dane.
He's a good rider, isn't he? He does ride well, but like I say, I think it was a Clayton suspension. It's a dead-set cop-out. If that happened at a Canterbury midweek, you'd get 5 metropolitan meetings. The bloke's got 2 metropolitan meetings in a Group 2 for blatantly knocking one down.
Ron, I think what you... But the Cox Plate, the main race today, you won it last year. It's a different scenario for you today, but I'm sure you're eager to get out there.
Yeah, I mean, I am. You know, I mean, it's this horse he's been a delight to ride, and
race. This Excite's been a big go. $4 in the 380. Efficient Lloyd Williams' horse been $3.40. We're $3 at the moment. We're standing it for a kicking.
The leanest before that. It's been a great race to the bars in recent years.
It is indeed one of the...
He's loaded up now, Efficient to go at favourite here from Excites. They've both been heavily back, the 7 and the 3 and 4 gates, and the gates are back and they're racing. And a little bit slow to get going, and dropping well behind those was Efficient out of the starting stalls. And Macau Causeway, fantastic owners. Galactic Gun, and from the outside, he's no pie eater, and also Galilei and Dan Ever in that pack, running 5th of the winning post the first time. Macau Causeway, fantastic owners. He's no pie eater deep. Around Galilei, Dan Ever, the inside. Galactic 2 or 3 lengths further back to Efficient, who's back on the outside of the 1. Leaving the top turn at the 850. Fantastic owners, 1 in front of He's No Pie Eater. A length and a half, Macau Causeway. Dan Ever 4th. Then Galilei's been working out 3 deep 5th. Back in the middle, Delidio. Galactic Gun the fence. Antidote's pulled out wide. Further back on the back of it would have been Efficient. Then came Sir Mione in the middle, Excites, and 2 lengths to the 1. They're jamming up at the 600. He's No Pie Eater goes to fantastic owners. Over on the outside, Denever quickly joined the leaders now. Here comes Efficient sweeping around the outside with Antidotes. Further back then the 1, followed by Excites. Efficient way out in the centre of the track has raced up to hit the front from He's No Pie Eater. Dan Ever going with those, and the 1 is running on. Then Excites, and further back in the race, then at the head of the others would have been Antidotes. Efficient turns in front. A length 2 on the outside. The 1 coming after him, ducking down to the fence. The leader is Efficient. He's kicking in. He's a half in front, 3/4 in front. The 1 trying to get to him, but Efficient's too good. Onto the Derby now, and Efficient wins by just over a length. Second home is the 1, 3 away, 3rd Excites. Then Dan Ever, followed by Sir Mione, a gap then Delidio. Then He's No Pie Eater, further back in the race, Antidotes. Along up Macau Causeway, Galactic Gun, fantastic owners, and Galilei is last of all.
Well, 3 great Derby trials there, Steve, from the winner Efficient, the runner-up the 1, and 3rd placed Excites. They all came from back. The runs came from back, and Efficient is emerging stayer. He's going to get there pretty quickly. His 5th start in the race. He'll be into an Amy Victoria Derby. He might even be favourite, but he's worth it.
I think it'll be clearly favourite, and a great win there for Michael Rodd. He, of course, terrific bars win, overall time 2:05.2. That's pretty good. Record to might and power at 2:03.5. They very rarely threaten that. They've run good time. The 1, Denever, is run officially 4th. John Sadler representing the team with this very, very exciting.
Further than what I wanted, but the way it turned out, sort of at the half miles, I was able to check up right behind him within striking distance, and geez, can he let down?
Yeah, look, they're very strong on the line, Michael.
Yeah, that's right. He, you know, he's a really quality horse. This, and I mean, horses that go
here after winning the Amy Vase in new class record time. What's the class record? 2:5.2, beating the record of Mossman. Caroline? Yeah.
Derby for sure, as Brian Martin said, for Efficient into $2.80 with Mike Leskander. Efficient is now the favourite. Favourite yesterday did the job. The one bit of gear changing, a bit of training changing also worked there. Excites, yeah, a bit of a query over him running out the 2,500 of the Derby. And Steve, I think the only other one out of that she can give any chance to next week would have to be Sermione. Denever, I thought was a bit flat.
Yeah, it was probably a little flat. Oh, the pace was good. They ran 1:16.4 for the first 12.50, which was much quicker than in the Cox Plate. So he was the best of the on-paces yesterday, Denever. It very rarely happens. In fact, it's only happened twice that the Vase, since it reverted to 2,040 metres, that they've run quicker time than the Cox Plate winner came through that race. The past 4 winners of the Derby have come through this race.
Simon.
Yes, there's Efficient there. Look, he's a lovely type, isn't he, by Zabeel? And when you look at this horse, only having his 5th start there, getting around Moonee Valley, his lovely big long stride, he relaxes so well, and his turn of foot suggests that he's still on the way up, he's still handling his racing very well, and he's a horse before his time. But in saying that, Lloyd...
Simon, I reckon the only danger about this horse not winning the Derby is him not running.
Okay, well, mate...
And your first experience with him, how good is he, do you think?
Well, he's untapped, you know. Potential-wise, he's you know, he's one of the best horses I've ever ridden on potential, but they don't pay on potential, so...
Does he give you that impression he's a top liner? Because you've ridden some.
Yeah, no, he does. The way he carries himself, you know...
And he genuinely stays, doesn't he? Does he give you the impression that the further he goes, he'll maintain that strength?
Richard, he honestly, when I straightened for home and finally sort of got into him, he probably didn't really get going until past the winning post. Like he hung in, he would, you know, he was doing a lot of things wrong. He was looking about, and I feel if he'd been around the valley before, he would have won by a lot further.
No, I think he's...
Home of champions. It is race 6, the Cathay Pacific Airways Moonee Valley Cup over the 2,500 metres, and a few Melbourne Cup hopefuls here, Steve.
Certainly are, Caroline. Zipping's come up quite short on the tote, around the $2.40 mark. Good lead into the Melbourne Cup Group 2 race. Let's see what's happening here, Shane, in a race that's a little harder to sort out than...
What? Yeah, look, they've come for Zipping here at 260. Smart money's arrived, but look, we've laid...
They're off. And Showberry out wide bounced away quickly. Forum Art Success going back with Dolphin Joe. Testifiable began fast and over nearer the inside. Derringer and also Don Rafael going through when they settle down. To the first turn they race now, and about 5 of them across the track. Showberry, Testifiable, Cat's Fun, Don Rafael, and on the fence Derringer just easing back now. Further back then Gallic, and out 3 deep Jagger, followed by Demerger wide. Then Dolphin Joe from Zipping, then Martoom, followed by Count Ricardo, Art Success, and Accumulate last of all. 900 metres to go. Around that turn now, and it's Showberry, a length Testifiable, a length into Cat's Fun. Then Gallic running 4th. They're followed further back by Jagger. He's been 3 deep from Don Rafael. Back in the middle, Don came at the head of the others, Dolphin Joe. Zipping's had a good run, about to work forward now, followed by Demerger. Back to the inside, then Derringer from Count Ricardo and Martoom. The race right on at the 600-metre mark, and Gallic raced up now to hit the front from Showberry, trying to go with him. Here's Furum going around the outside, and with him is Zipping coming into it. Then came further back Testifiable. Jagger dropping out from Don Rafael and Dolphin Joe and Accumulate. Gallic and Showberry from Zipping further out. 4 wide now is Furum, followed by Testifiable. On the turn they race now. Gallic got its head in front, but Zipping the favourite, claiming them in the bound. And Zipping has hit the front from Gallic. Showberry fighting back. They've got away from Furum. Zipping in front out in the centre, a neck in front of Showberry coming back. Zipping just in front of Showberry. Zipping a half neck to Showberry. A length third is Gallic, and then Furum, Dolphin Joe, Art Success, Testifiable, Demerger, Martoom, followed by Don Rafael, Cat's Fun, Jagger, always wide from Count Ricardo, then Derringer, and last of all Accumulate.
Well, he beat the qualifying clause for the Melbourne Cup in the best possible way by winning the Moonee Valley Cup. Good ride here by Glenn Bosch. Showberry brace, but Steve, is he a live chance in the Melbourne Cup?
Well, I think he is, judging on that performance, Bruce. Admittedly, he had the advantage today under the set weights and penalties condition. Gets into the Melbourne.
It's a fantastic day. You know, it's so exciting that obviously Zipping, assuming all goes well, when he pulls up, he can go onto the Melbourne Cup, and it was just fantastic to see the old horse Gallic start hanging there for third. He's done a mighty job. So yeah, it's true,
but he quickly dropped him off, and then
you know, when he got to the front, he actually really laboured with me, just sort of relaxed a lot, but, you know, I'm just not sure if that was a cup-winning race, but he feels like he's got a little bit more to give, this horse. He's pulled up a bit big there again. Obviously, they went into the Caulfield Cup really not expecting to go into the race, so they backed off that week. He needed the run, and he's come in here and he's had 2 starts here for 2 wins, and he knows he's a better Flemington horse than he is at any other track, so there's a chance.
So where's the doubt, though? Is the doubt that
Moonee Valley Cup on the numbers 9, 8 and 13. Zipping. Glenn Boss for Graham Rogers and Lloyd Williams, 240, 150. Show Barry, 4...
Zipping bouncing back from Caulfield Cup aftermath to win the Cathay Pacific Airways Cup, beating Show Barry, Brave Again and Gallic. What a performance by him. Attempted to buck after the start and then got into trouble, and he's basically been patched up to run. But gave Lloyd Williams and Graham Rogers in first and third. Zipping. Steve, quick overview, because we'll hear from Glenn Boss in a second, and I think he just says, no, they're not in the mix, basically.
Well, I suspect he's probably right. We saw a repeat of the naturalism with Zipping beating Show Barry. The Zipping was satisfactory. Show Barry was typically honest. I think Forum was excusable. Testifiable probably needs cover in his races, so from that point of view you could forgive him, but only one horse in 20 years has gone. 18 Moonee Valley Cup winners have gone on to the Melbourne Cup. Only one has won. That was Kingston Rules. So that's a little dampener in terms of Zipping's Melbourne Cup prospects.
Into the field. Probably only just into the field, but definitely into the field. So if you've had an early bet on Zipping, you're in the Melbourne Cup. And I tell you what, strong effort. Just hope it hasn't flattened him for the Melbourne Cup.
Hill?
It's always a risk, isn't it, at the 3,200 metres? But you can only look at the horse. He did grind out a good win here.
I think he's under the odds now. 10 to 1's under the odds to my eye. His stablemate went just as good as him. Gallic here, he went sensational. He went sensational.
Boys, off him a little bit yesterday, because it certainly wasn't his best performance.
In the winner's defence, I think 8 out of the past 11 Melbourne Cup winners have been last start winners. And he was forced to make a few runs there when Forum took off round the outside. Boss revved him up, stopped, revved him up again. So you can only win, and he did win nicely.
That's the international mile, and we'll head first of all to Shane Templeton in the betting ring.
Yeah, Caroline and Steve, I can't be much help to you here. The bookies have lacking a bit of competitive spirit early now. They put up about 136, 130.
Yeah, about a minute away from a start here in the Jayco Crystal Mile. Shane, what's happening in the betting ring?
Yeah, well, 135% down to 117, so I can't help you from the route. I'm going to have to go direct assignment here. Everything's just drifted.
Yeah, well, they're in 117 here. The bookies pretty keen. Look, been a good betting race. Number 2, Nicanero's. We just hit the money there at 6.
Racing. Caught them in a good line. Black Panther fast away with Volaton. Bell Bazaar came out quickly with Rockford Bay, and wide out New Edge presses on. Going fast, Flash Trick, undue off speed. Settling down, and it's Volaton going to the lead. Flash Trick, Bell Bazaar the outside, and New Edge from the deep coming across. Rockford Bay lands 5th, undue inside Cog Hill. A length away, Black Panther, 3. Brockman's Lass, wider out on the track, Cog Hill, Nicanero, and Primus for Beedman brought up the rear at the 700. Volatant runs them down the side, stretches the neck and leads out by a half to 3/4 on New Edge, stalking the outside. Bell Bazaar 3 wide. Rockford Bay is now flushed out. Then came Flash Trick and Cog Hill, the NZ running into it. On the fence behind those, Black Panther, undue the centre. They were followed next of all by 3D, Jacques Lenape, Brockman's Lass, Nicanero well back with Cargo, Colden, Primus as they turn for home at the 400, and still Volaton in front. New Edge for Boss going after him, and on the outside Rockford Bay chiming in quickly. Cog Hill undue, and down the outside 3D. They're at the 150 and moving up on the outside and hitting the lead. Rockford Bay from New Edge, who's fighting. New Edge, Rockford Bay, Flash Trick flying, Flash Trick coming at them and got up. Maybe Flash Trick on New Edge. Oh, it's tight, there's not much in it. New Edge has got his head down on the line. Judge will split them. 3rd prize, Rockford Bay from Nicanero, Jacques Lenape. They were followed by Cargo Colt. Then came 3D just off those, pulling up quickly from Cog Hill, Volatant, undue. And near the tail of the field, Primus with Black Panther. Brockman's Lass and Bell Bazaar have both pulled up short. A real rip tickler.
It is, and we've gone 14 Flash Trick. Maybe a touch early. We might wait for the confirmation, but Flash Trick on the outside lays in. King pulls off. Has it cost him victory? I don't think so.
No, I think he's got there, but...
Getting the money. 14, 12 and 7. Flash Trick, Steve King for Colin and Cindy Alderson. $28.70 and $7.30. Second, number 12, New Edge. $7.90 the plate.
Lovely ride there by Stephen King, Steve.
Yeah, it certainly was, Bruce. They didn't go particularly hard up front. The first 3 home were in the first 5 on settling. Stephen had the run of the race. He was happy to let a couple go round him, which turned out to be the masterstroke. Got off the fence. I think Flash Trick is a horse who really wants that little bit of cushion in the ground. He gets it on the strength there. The stablemate Cargo Colt, who A was galloped on and B conceded an impossible start, was terrific. He's the horse you see outside flashing home.
There's a race in him, surely.
It's been a while since Colin's had a good one, but it's great to see him with this one, because I think when he gets a good one, Colin, he can take it all the way to the top.
Yeah, look, he's won 6 from 10 now. I think he knocked that back more than $500,000 for him for
he did
Hong
more
Kong.
than that today.
Yeah, during the week.
Okay.
Actually...
Internationals have begun talking themselves up on the eve of Moonee Valley's $3 million Cox Plate. Champion Irish jockey Kieran Fallon says if import Grey Swallow brings his A game to the racetrack tomorrow, he'll be the one to beat.
Fallon adamant Grey Swallow would be a clear-cut favourite if the race was run in Europe.
If he was anywhere near his best, he'd have thought he'd run a big race, but this sharp track might not just suit him.
Fallon will partner Caulfield Cup runner-up Aqua d'Amour.
But she's run a great race, and I know Gail's happy with her, and hopefully we can get a big race out of her.
Racing to Win's trainer John O'Shea is full of anticipation ahead of the Classic. Victory from his champion Grey would fulfil a childhood dream.
I get a tingle down my spine talking about it, and you know, to be a part of it and have a favourite in a Cox Plate, you know, I'm just in heaven.
And despite the absence of a genuine superstar, O'Shea believes the race could well unearth another household name.
These horses like Pompey Rule, El Segundo and Racing to Win, you know, in 12 months' time we might be talking about them as sort of legends of the turf.
Craig Williams rides retiring veteran Fields of Omar, but his heart will be with regular partner Miss Finland.
Yeah, I feel like I've been cheated on.
The filly's lightweight, resulting in Williams foregoing the ride to Lisa Crop.
I'd imagine it's like when your parents first send your kids to school. She'd be like my daughter going to school for the first time, envious of not being able to be on it.
Damien Booth.
The Cox Plate. And we have a new favourite because El Segundo, $3.50, easy in the market, now out to $3.80, and that leaves Racing to Win the clear-cut favourite at $3.50. El Segundo at $18. Good old Fields, he's at $21. He'll have his supporters. Our Smoking Joe also at $21. Aqua d'Amour, there's been some money, 31 into 26. Casual Park.
The massive crowd here at Moonee Valley, all well behaved and gearing up for the horses in the mounting yard. Fields of Omar to lead them out on his last occasion in a race, his 5th occasion in this great race. The weather's turned, as I say, only 20 minutes to go till the Cox Plate, and a big rally of support for El Segundo. He is now favourite on course as Racing to Win gets out to around 3-1. The money has come for El Segundo. More on
versus Melbourne, the International Grey Swallow, Miss Finland, the 3-year-old, Kieran Fallon, Lisa Crop, all the ingredients, not to mention Fields of Omar for the 5th time. They're just about ready for the Cox Plate. Let's go to Brian Martin.
And Grey Swallow was ready on the inside of Ladder the Manor and Red Dazzler, Fields of Omar. Racing. Grey Swallow missed the start, 2 lengths down on the inside. Fields of Omar a little bit slow away. Aqua d'Amour bounced quickly with Red Dazzler, Our Smoking Joe. Coming from the outside, Apache Cat, Pompey Ruler. And at the judge the first time, it's Aqua d'Amour, Red Dazzler, and Our Smoking Joe. And Apache Cat goes around the outside to clear them. On the first turn, they're followed further back by on the inside, Ladder the Manor. Racing to Win's going forward now. Up on the outside, 7th, but 3 deep. Miss Finland the middle. Then came on the inside, Grey Swallow, 2 to Casual Pass. Fields of Omar back to 2nd last, and El Segundo last of all. At the 1500 now on the Cox Plate, and it's Apache Cat down on the fence a length in front of Aqua d'Amour. Then came Pompey Ruler 3rd. 4th is Red Dazzler from Our Smoking Joe. Racing to Win got a little wide there. Then Ladder the Manor, Miss Finland the middle. On the fence, Grey Swallow a length and a half, Casual Pass. The inside then Fields of Omar 2nd last, and 2 to El Segundo last of all. Into the back straight at the 1,000 metre mark. Apache Cat on the Cox Plate leads a length and a half. Pompey Pompey Ruler, 1.5 further back is Aquadamore. They steady the speed. Fourth is Red Dazzler. Then came Ladder the Matter, followed by Racing to Win, still 3 deep. Back in the middle then Our Smoke and Joe, a length into Grey Swallow, Miss Finland. Then came on the inside Fields of Omar, taking off his Casual Pass, and 2 lengths to El Segundo. At the 800 metre mark, Apache Cat a half in front of Pompey Ruler, followed by Red Dazzler. Casual Pass and Racing to Win are the widest runners. Then Aquadamore further back, then came Ladder the Matter. Miss Finland coming around the outside of Our Smoke and Joe from El Segundo, going around Fields of Omar. Ladder the Matter dropped out, and last of all Grey Swallow. 500 to go. Pompey Ruler took the lead from Red Dazzler. Apache Cat is struggling. Then came Racing to Win, followed further back in the middle by Aquadamore, getting a run from El Segundo, and Fields of Omar the widest runner. But it's Pompey Ruler 2 lengths in front of McCock's Plate. Straightens 3 lengths in front of Aquadamore, El Segundo. Fields of Omar coming down the outside. Pompey Ruler the leader from Aquadamore, El Segundo. Fields of Omar is lifting. He's flashing down the outside. Pompey Ruler, Fields of Omar, he's lunged with El Segundo. They hit it together. El Segundo and Fields of Omar in a photo finish to the Cox Plate. Pompey Ruler is third. The outside of Our Smoke and Joe from El Segundo, going around Fields of Omar. Ladder the Matter dropped out, and last of all Grey Swallow. 500 to go. Pompey Ruler took the lead from Red Dazzler. Apache Cat is struggling. Then came Racing to Win, followed further back in the middle by Aquadamore, getting a run from El Segundo, and Fields of Omar the widest runner. But it's Pompey Ruler 2 lengths in front of McCock's Plate. Straightens 3 lengths in front of Aquadamore, El Segundo. Fields of Omar coming down the outside. Pompey Ruler the leader from Aquadamore, El Segundo. Fields of Omar is lifting. He's flashing down the outside. Pompey Ruler, Fields of Omar, he's lunged with El Segundo. They hit it together. El Segundo and Fields of Omar in a photo finish to the Cox Plate. Pompey Ruler is third. They're followed further back by Our Smoke and Joe. Miss Finland, Casual Pass, Aquadamore. Then came further back at the head of the others, pulling up pretty quickly after the race would have been Ladder the Matter. Well back in the field, then Red Dazzler, Racing to Win, Grey Swallow are back near the tail of the field. The judge has called for the photo.
Craig Grey Swallow, El Segundo's loving the toe into the race. He creeps closer and follows them through. It's Apache Cat, Pompey Ruler. Racing to Win has to go because Red Dazzler forced it with Casual Pass. At the 600, the Stalkers, Aquadamore. Right there, Our Smoking Joe, Miss Finland. El Segundo tracking them. Fields of Omar behind it. Ladder the Matter, Grey Swallow can't spread. Pompey Ruler went to the front for Red Dazzler. Apache Cat, Aquadamore. Racing to Win not going well. The Melbourne champ, El Segundo, sweeps around him, looks at him and tries to push on. Apache Cat, Our Smoking Joe, Ladder the Matter. Fields of Omar, 9 years of age, out wide, runs on. Pompey Ruler in front, El Segundo. And on the outside, Fields of Omar with Aquadamore. El Segundo, Fields of Omar, the 9-year-old drives, they hit it. El Segundo has nosed Fields of Omar. On the inside, Pompey Ruler and Our Smoking Joe. Miss Finland next, followed by Segundo. Number 2 has created history. Fields of Omar, at 9 years of age, has won the Cox Plate, becomes the first horse ever to win it 3 years apart, the first horse to be placed 4 times. It's 2, 4 and 11. A sensation here. Craig Williams and David Hayes have done it again. Gouch denied on El Segundo. And
more credit on the line. But this is the story of the Cox Plate.
Unbelievable story, Bruce. To run in the race 5 times, now to claim victory twice. Caroline, it's extraordinary. They talked about this horse going to retirement, to the living legends, to join Saintly, Better Loosen Up. Doremus, Paris Lane. Well, I guess he joined Saintly and Better Loosen Up as a living legend.
Absolute media around him at the moment. The connection's all ecstatic too. You could hear Brian Martin almost in disbelief as he said that as the photo finish came through, and he realised that the horse that he part owns had won a 2nd Cox Plate. And El Segundo's trainer Colin Little
breaking history now. Tranquil Star was the only horse to run 5 consecutive Cox Plate, and can you believe it? Tranquil Star won 2. He's done the same. He's done the same.
The track, David Hayes, do you believe in destiny?
Oh, look, I do now. Just fantastic. The old horse, it's all about the horse. He got him, he missed the start, and Craig, we had a set plan. If he missed it, wait. And he produced him for one late run, and he just did the job.
It'll go down as one of the great finishes in Cox Plate history. Did you think he'd won?
Yeah, I thought he had one, and what a great way to come out for the old boy.
It truly is one of the most remarkable moments in this race's history, but in Australian sport as well.
Yeah, just fantastic. When he went out on the track and they acknowledged him, it sort of brought a bit of a tear to my eye, and a very emotional win. Just fantastic. And it was the last horse, it's the only horse that I trained that my brother trained, so makes me think of him a bit.
The tears and
Western in the Barossa Valley. And by winning today, he becomes the 4th greatest stake winner in the history of Australasian racing, behind Sunline, Mackay Diva #1, Signline 2 and Northerly 3. All Cox Plate winners. And what a team of people that own him too.
It's an emotional moment for the horse, actually.
Did you think it won?
Yeah, I did, actually, I did. But then when I saw the replay, I noticed El Segundo's head hit. I didn't actually see it live, so I was a bit overconfident then.
Definitely won't be any second thoughts here.
No, he's retired, and he's deserved it, I think. So he's done a great job.
A fabulous Cox Plate story for him and for you to win your first 16 years ago and then to saddle this horse up in his 5th.
It's a special win because my late brother is the only horse that he used to train that I still train, so I was thinking of Pete all the way.
How hard was it?
Well, just another Cox Plate win, really.
Yeah, just another Cox Plate win, Pete. Coming before the turn where he's back near the tail, and I thought, gee, come on, Fields, try and pass a couple. This is just one song. This is the end. And I saw him coming and coming and coming. We'd never given up on this horse. And so,
did you think he'd won?
I didn't know, Pete. I can't describe it. Like, we thought we made the right decision to retire him, and he's retired. He's not going to go any further. And you know, for a horse who's had 2 suspensory injuries, yeah,
well done, mate. Thanks.
It's what the sport can do to you when you own a horse that you fall in love with, and he's given them...
Just confirming those dividends. Fields of Omar, $20. Can you believe it? $20 and $4. El Segundo, $2. Pompey Ruler, $3.30. The Quinella...
Stay with Michael Felgate.
There again, El Segundo. That was a mighty effort. He showed a lot of heart today. And I think the winners know he's a good horse. He's won the Cox Plate before. We met him on equal weights, and first thing, I thought that the race was run probably a little bit different than I anticipated.
Craig Pompey Ruler, top run.
He's a superstar, mate. He was home with 5 strides to go, and it was only the last couple of strides they got him, but probably just got left in front a little bit early. And
Kieran Fallon, Ecuador Moore.
Yeah, I mean, until the way she ran, you know, we didn't have any problems out there. She was at the break, smart from the gate. Was able to get her across in a position. The gaps come from me turning for home, and actually I did think for a minute she was going to win.
Glen Boss Racing to win, no luck today?
No, he had no luck. 3 wide, but all on, he was probably disappointing though, all the same.
Lisa, just a quick word, Miss Fiddle.
Great run, yeah. She got held up and went down the top, but finished off beautiful and super filly.
Stephen King, Grey Swallow.
Yeah, look, he played up in the gates before the start, and he's got a couple of marks on him after I pulled up, so whether or not that's enough to stop him from performing, I would say no, but disappointing on face value.
Everyone. Well, Fields of Omar, he joined Tranquil Star as a 5-time competitor in the Cox Plate. He joined Tranquil Star as a 2-time winner. And it's a fantastic story. I don't think it's a fairy tale. I think it's probably more a feel-good story, and it's certainly a feel-good story for his 30-plus owners, for his trainer David Hayes. I think also for Tony McAvoy, who trained him to win the race in 2003, and certainly for Craig Williams, 3 Group 1 wins already this season.
Well, huge performance by Fields of Omar. Absolutely no fluke about that to come from where he in the run to beat El Segundo. Heads up, heads down. El Segundo, great performance by him. Pompey Ruler good. Aquadamore ran 4th. House Smoking Joe, change of colours again, ran 5th. Look, we'll get to all the beaten horses here and the stories in so many of them, but let's concentrate on this marvellous horse, Fields of Omar. The more you watch it, Craig, there's absolutely no fluke at all. You can say what you like about everyone else in the race. There's no fluke at all about his performance.
No, that's right, Bruce. He really did rise to the occasion, which he's done for the last 5 years, and he's always been ultra competitive, but he was a delight. He rose to the occasion. I was just lucky enough to be on his back today.
What happens here, Craig? I mean, he's in the mix somewhere, but then he suddenly lifts.
We were talking about this morning, and after watching all these tapes, we think that's the fastest he's ever sprinted home. And
Craig, were they going relatively slowly at some point in the race, early or middle?
Yes, they were. I think I wasn't really worried about the pace in the race because my horse was so relaxed. He really saved his energy, but I knew they were going very slow because a lot of horses were in trouble and getting buffeted around a little bit, where my horse...
Lots of horses were striking trouble inside, and for that reason we can forgive lots of horses. Certainly Miss Finland, her performance, we might ask Craig about that, was enormous. Lisa Cropp just found trouble. I personally, if Miss Finland had been mine, I would have ridden her one way or the other, go forward or go back, not try and be too cute and make advantage of the 46. She found lots of trouble, some of it no fault of Lisa's, but that's the way the race unfolded. Our Smoking Joe struck interference, Ladder the Manor, Grey Swallow, lots of horses. So lots of inconclusive runs, but the first two to come from the back and run 1-2, and Pompey Ruler was gritty. He was probably left in front a touch too soon when Apache Cat had had enough. But terrific Cox Plate, great performance from the winner. You simply can't knock it.
What about the favourite, racing to win 3? Well, we'll talk to Glenn Boss shortly about the performance. I know John O'Shea not happy, but was that the only excuse?
I don't think so, Bruce. There was a couple of early squeezes, which certainly didn't aid his cause. He also pulled up with the thumps, yes, which is sort of the equivalent of the hiccups. But in the horse, it's a pretty severe sort of rupture of the diaphragm, basically, and the horse is heaving. Sometimes it's simply brought on by just stress. Sometimes it might indicate some little minor problem with the horse, but clearly he wasn't right.
You saw it all.
Yeah, and what a horse. What a horse. He is a living legend, and a fitting result yesterday at Moonee Valley for him to win that race again.
And fair to the win.
Oh, it's a fantastic win, and very romantic racing type of win. I'm a bit perplexed as to the standard of our older horses when a 9-year-old keeps beating them at Moonee Valley. I know he hasn't won every start he's had, but he's had 5 runs in it now. He's never run poorly. So I guess we just say what a great old war horse he is, and bon voyage, and have a good retirement. Look, this old horse, I sort of think he's the mummify story of this year, but with a happy ending. And you must have only thought in the back of your head, well, you know, fate will have to take a part in this, because a 9-year-old, they just don't win, but he's done it.
Yeah, I suppose, you know, old Super did a similar thing in a good race, and I don't think it's very smart to judge Cox Plates on the day. I think you should watch the replays in 3 or 4 years, and I think you'll find the horse on the inside's an exceptional horse, and the horse in the middle is, I think, going to be, if he stays sound, champion. So it might turn out to be a vintage Cox Plate.
And I think the added...
I'm going to be the naysayer here. Miss Finland. I've never doubted she has enough ability, or had enough ability, to win a Cox Plate, but 3-year-old fillies just don't win it. And all the interference they suffer, in my opinion, David, and you may differ, is because they're 3 years old, and because they get intimidated by the older horses, and because they're not as physically mature enough to ride the bumps the way the older horses like the Fields of Omar can.
Yeah, I just think, Richard, if she was let to relax a bit more, she wouldn't have to feel the rides and the bumps. Right. And I think she felt them for 2,000 metres and still boxed on very strongly. I'm sure Craig, who knows her well, if he'd ridden her in a similar fashion to Fieldsy, she would have been doing similar things. So I think 3-year-olds can do it, and they have in the past, and they will in the future.
Richard, I think you've got to remember the horse had 3 opportunities to come to the outside to avoid getting involved in any type of scrimmaging whatsoever. And if you go and look at her record, apart from the Golden Slipper, she's come to the outside where she's relished.
And that brings me to the other point. Because they have 46 kilos, your jockey choice is so limited that you have to battle that as well.
I thought it was a very, very smart move, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Frankly.
Yeah.
David El Segundo was brilliant. Pompey Ruler, well, he could be the horse for next year. That's only his 9th.
He's the one I like the most out of that field. El Segundo,
it was only his 9th start.
El Segundo, for me, has been overrated the entire spring. He's a very good horse. He's a top-class horse, but he's been rated as a superstar. But that's
what David just had to say then.
You know,
I think he is.
I know he does, but you know,
and
we don't always get it right.
The best ride in the race was Kieran Fallon on Aqua de Moor.
Yeah. Hasn't she been a revelation this spring? She's been an absolute beauty.
The back up from the Caulfield Cup.
And I thought, old our Smoking Joe, if he gets a wet track in a Melbourne Cup, he's a chance.
He's the best Australian.
Let's have a look at the Newmarket for the Melbourne Cup. Torquay, $4.60 the Caulfield Cup winner. Yates, $6 for Kieran Fallon, available to ride. Pop Rock, $7.50. Delta Blues, $11, zipping into 11 now there. $13 Our Smoking Joe's, the latest Michael Iskander market. Activation, Diesel and Run.
The thing that I noticed about that market, I think we skirted over him earlier in the show, but Our Smoking Joe yesterday in the Cox Plate I thought was very good from a Melbourne Cup point of view.
Changed his colours again, went from the purple back to the Freedman colours. I don't know what's going on with Joe's colour.
At Flemington, let's go back there to Bruce Clark. Let's go back there to Bruce Clark. And Bruce, terrible news about Our Smoking Joe.
Yeah, it is, Rich, isn't it, for a Connections trainer and, of course, jockey balked to get so close to the big race on Tuesday. Just to be a participant's important, but he would have been a live chance in the race as well. But he's got tendon issues and he has been withdrawn from Tuesday's Emirates Melbourne Cup. Okay.